All right. Welcome back. Welcome back for this Sunday evening. This is another Life in Linux. This is number 11. Waiting for, I got a message from Tom from Switch to Linux earlier. I sent him an email and waiting for him to get back. So right now I'm doing this solo. Tom, if you see this, check your email and we can move on with the show. If anybody is out there, please do say hello in the chat. Chuck Harrington is in the house. Welcome. Good evening. What's up? Let me get situated here. Yeah, I wasn't sure if I would be on tonight, but anyway, I got an email from Switch that he should be available. So, Switch, if you see this, if you can, jump on and we can talk a little bit about the Ubuntu metrics report, the first one. We can look into that a little bit more deeper and talk about it a little bit, and then we'll move on. I'm doing fine, Chuck. I was actually having a drink at Applebee's, at the local Applebee's, with a couple of friends of mine, and I dashed home, and here I am. So, hopefully, hey Ben, how are you? Let me check my email here. And looks like no response yet from Switch. I hope everything's okay, Tom. Nothing came up at the last minute, but yeah, Tim is in the house. Tim still has a problem spelling. It's all that food he ate over the weekend. It's I think that Vegemite went to his head. Hi, Tim. Madhouse Jack. Hidey ho, hidey ho, hidey hidey ho, hidey hidey he. It wasn't that part of a Western show. I can't remember. Anyway, Tim, you're welcome to join in for this Life in Linux for number 11. Let me get. I need to grab a bottle of water. Hey, hang on, guys. I'll be right back. Right back. Excuse me. Now, I had the beer, and I don't drink a lot of beer, but one thing about beer, after you have it, I'm still thirsty. My mouth is freaking dry. So let's face it, water is the best thing. Good evening, Analog. Good evening, Terry. Terry, thank you for stopping. I know you live in a different time zone. Thank you. It's always appreciated. Terry is a supporter of the channel. Thank you, Terry, for stopping by. Chuck also, thank you for supporting the live streams. Tim, excuse me. Give me a second. Hopefully, Tom can jump on. If not, I'll do this. I'll do this with Tim and. All right, give me a second here. Yeah, I know, Tim. It's 3:15 in the UK. Yes, I do know. Thank you for stopping by. That is a true supporter of the channel, not just money-wise, but coming in at least to say hello. Terry, thank you. It is greatly appreciated, sir. Greatly appreciated. Okay, let me go here. Alright, jump into my email. Give me a second here. Do that. Do this. That looks like gibberish. Wait a minute. Alright, let's try it again. Hope everybody had a terrific day. It cleared up here. I thought it was gonna... it did rain, but it stopped. I did not make it to go swimming. Kind of ticked off, but I finished my grass. Cutting, not smoking. I need to be very clear about that. Tim, I know it's legal in some states. Chimtech, check your email, see if that works. Let me get my My camera should be working. Give me a second here. Yeah, that looks okay. A little bit whitish. The white balance is off a little bit. You know, it's good enough. So EB already has his Biddle challenge. KD Neon. Okay. Okay. I don't really have a challenge. We kind of challenge ourselves Friday night for the Vegemite, but you know, I don't want to become unstable. If you know what, Tim knows what I mean. Ben, yeah, you can join, Ben. Give me a second. All right, there's the link there. All right, DT, thank you for stopping by. Yeah. Have to use KD Neon for a week. That's the challenge. Okay. All right. Nothing wrong with that. Let me know if those links work. And we'll go from there. All right, looking good on my end. So we'll wait for Tim and Ben to jump in. We'll talk a little bit about Ubuntu. Yeah, these Life in Linux shows primarily are designed for new users, usually. So if you are new to Linux, hopefully these podcasts, these video podcasts, will help you out in some form or fashion. Because I know what it's like to, you know, jump into something new about technology and to be totally lost. Been there, done that. You know, back in '06, I didn't have any help. I learned it on my own. It's been a long journey, but I'm still here. So, Uber driver was watching TV. That's nice. Catching it on the news feed. Hope he was watching something good. He was probably watching a show on car safety, and he wrecked. All right, I am at the blog.ubuntu.com. Let me drop in the link if you guys want to follow along for tonight to this link. You don't have to, but if you want to, we're going to talk about this. I've talked about this briefly yesterday, but we can talk about this a little bit some more for this evening. I will not be on late tonight. But
hey.
Oh, there's Tom. Tom has joined us. Yay! All right. All right. I'm just waiting for Tim and Ben. We are live as we speak, Tom. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Ubuntu metrics report. Steve Gudick says that's uber ridiculous.
Hey, I hear you now.
Excellent. Yeah, we are. I wasn't sure where you were at, so I started live. Ben may join us. Tim. We'll talk a little bit about the Ubuntu telemetry report to get your more in-depth opinion on it, and whatever else comes to mind. So,
yeah, I tried to send you an email like 10 minutes ago, but the account you send is Microsoft, and yeah, I think Microsoft works at a regular basis.
Well, I sent it through. Anyway, you're on, so yeah, we don't have to go there. Yeah. All right, Tim. Hello.
Howdy.
Crank up your mic.
Give me 1 minute, please.
All right, that sounds a little better. Good evening, Stephen. You are dual booting Q4 OS and Linux Mint 19 Beta Cinnamon. Okay. Yeah, Q4 OS for me is probably the fastest Linux I've tested so far. It just flies. It just literally, yeah. I don't care for the default desktop environment. Go ahead, Tim.
If you could give me a sound check, please. Check. Can
you go a little louder?
Check.
There we go. Excellent.
How's that sound, guys?
Good. Very good.
There we go.
Excellent. I know, Tom, you had a chance to look at the Ubuntu report. Tim, have you looked at it? The telemetry?
You know, the closest I got to really looking at it was the OMG Ubuntu website.
That's fine. That's the link that I posted. Yeah,
it is.
That's good enough. Yeah.
I got to take a look at it, but I didn't read too far into it. If you guys are going to be talking, I'll jump on there and take a look.
Yeah, if you want to, yeah. It's only the first report, but I think it's important. Dark One Linux Tech Gaming is in the house. Well, hello, Dark One. Is this your first time on this stream? I don't recognize the name. If it is, welcome for this Life in Linux number 11. If you haven't already, check out last week's Life in Linux 10. I was not able to join. Tom hosted that one. You can catch it on his channel. He had a guest on talking about was it VPNs?
VPNs, yeah.
Yeah. So check out that. You can check out his links on the channel if you'd like to support Tom on Patreon and other links, of course. It's Patreon Tom M, right?
Tom M, yes. Which is the funny thing is that actually does not show up if you search for it, which is why I'm so anxious to get my virtual support site launched. You cannot go on Patreon and search for me. It is
really
hilariously stupid. Yep. And so it's like, if I wean off of Patreon and onto my own system, it's just like...
Let me just try. Now you got me curious. You know me, curiosity. Let me just see. Let me do a search.
I'm going to go over there and try it from a completely non-logged-in system.
Yeah, give me a second here. We have someone with AJCD1. That's like code. Hi, whoever you are.
Greetings.
All right. Give me a second here. Just out of curiosity. So, Tom M.
And I don't know why my internet's going to do things. Okay, so I type in exactly Tom M. I get Tommy Williams, Tommy Band.
Okay. Tommy's
doing all sorts of stuff. I am not there. That is my exact handle on Patreon.
All right, wait. This is if I type. She can't talk to that. I just had one beer. If I type in your full name, it comes up. Tom Morosky. So if you go on Patreon, it's...
I intentionally did not use Tom Morosky because my name is too hard to spell.
Really?
But that is my exact... Yes.
Morosky?
Yes. There are multiple derivations and very few people can spell it correctly. And so the purpose of having a handle is to be found. Right? So if you go to patreon.com/TOMM, that's my page. Why, when I search for TOMM in the search function, do I not show up? This is why Patreon is an unholy mess. This is the most god-awful site I've ever seen in my life.
I don't have the fire effects, Tom. Sorry.
I know. I need fire. I need fire.
I know.
Fire.
No, I look, it's my third try on Patreon. The first time I did it right after they went public, I dropped it because honestly it was new. I didn't know if it was legit, and I don't want to rip off anybody, so I dropped it. One of my subscribers says, "No, it's legit. Go back on." I'm like, okay, if you guys say so. I went back on, but then last December, what happened? They were trying to pull a fast one about how people donate and stuff. So I jumped off. But then right after I deleted it, a week later, I got an email saying they were sorry. I'm like, really? So last month,
I don't get those emails, which is funny. But and that's me because I probably have turned off email notifications.
Oh, well, duh. Hi, Kyrie. Hi.
I don't mind that.
Okay.
The thing is that they are trying to do all sorts of these other things. They should focus on fixing the stuff that doesn't work. Like if you want to send somebody a message, it is, you wouldn't believe how many messages I get that are, "Hey Tom, enter," because somebody writes, "Hey Tom, enter," and that sends a message.
Okay.
Their tag system is a total nightmare. I mean, it's just, I use it because...
I only went back because some of my followers says it's fine, just don't make it a paywall. It's not, so I'm on it. But I also have paywall. I prefer paywall. PayPal. Jesus, I can't talk with one beer.
Neither of us, man. Neither of us.
God, it must be the Bud. Is there something in the Budweiser? I don't know. Nothing against Budweiser.
I don't know. I had 2 Budweisers at dinner, and I seem to be speaking okay. But I ate a half-pound hamburger with it, and
I had no food with mine. Maybe that's it.
That might be it.
Yeah, but anyway, so I prefer PayPal, but on Patreon it's Toss Today. That's my name on it. It seems to work. But anyway, just check out Tom's YouTube channel. All the links are there.
Yeah.
It's under headache.com. You know?
Yeah, there you go. I should register.
There you go.
I'm sure somebody owns that already. Yeah, you know
probably. Check it out.
This random experimentation. I'm going to pull up my actual web browser. All right,
okay. All right. We'll give it a few minutes, and we'll let some other people. Dark One, you have been here before. Very good. Did I miss anybody? Olmo Kobe. Hello. Is this your first time? No, that's got to be a new name here. Yeah. Hello, Olmo. Kobe.
Headache.com redirects to vibranthealthnetwork.com. Good to know.
Sounds positive. Okay.
Keegan, greetings. Steve, greetings. Dark One Linux.
Yep.
Steven Anderson. Hello, Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, we'll give it a few more minutes. We just jumped in at the last minute. I sent an email to you earlier. I wasn't sure if you would jump on. I was at Applebee's having a beer with a couple friends. My one friend left. He had to go because he's married. I'm surprised he was able to stay out late, but hey. My other friend dropped in from high school. We started chatting when I got the email. So anyway, he likes to smoke. He's almost like a chain smoker. So like every 5 minutes he leaves and come back. So I said, look, just send me a text if you want to grab a beer, but I'm going. He says, okay, fine. So Q1 Fiend, how are you?
Greetings.
Yeah, welcome. Again, if you are new and you're watching this, don't be shy. Please stop by. You don't have to use Linux to join. We just call it Life Linux because we're just clever. No, but stop by and say hello. And if you use only Windows, that's fine. I use Windows. Nothing wrong with that. As a dual boot, and we'll talk about that as we go into the topic here. In just a few more minutes, we'll let everybody jump in who wants to say hello or has a question or comment about Ubuntu.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see?
Oh, yes, I can.
Dunkin' Donuts.
All right, I will buy some of that when I'm out and see if I can't get that created.
It's addictive.
That's probably why I don't make much of them. So.
Okay. All right. Is that new? I don't recall seeing that because I haven't been to Dunkin' Donuts in a while.
This is actually I got this. I'm not sure what you guys have for convenience store / gas stations out there.
Yeah. Speedway and other
Okay, Speedway in Minnesota. We have a variation of Speedway called Super America. And that's where I got this.
Right. Steven says YouTube Red is now YouTube Premium. That's right. I did get a notification from them. I make a few bucks off of that, Steven. Yeah.
YouTube's doing a few interesting things. Maybe that's worth talking about a little bit because they're trying to roll out a Patreon-like support system.
Yeah, we could.
And the thing is that I would enable it if I would qualify for it just because. But the reality is, they keep, like Patreon keeps, what, 5 to 10% maybe?
Something like that, yeah. They take 30%? Okay.
And the is they're trying like YouTube.
Tom, you were cutting out. You were cutting out. Yeah.
You're doing like R2D2 on us, buddy.
Yeah. You were cutting out. Tim's okay. You're cutting out.
I think one of the reasons that YouTube is putting time and effort into trying to revamp themselves.
Yeah.
I read an article, I think on Bloomberg, and they were talking about the Time Warner, the Comcast and Time Warner deal. Is that who bought Time Warner? Or no, AT&T.
I think I lost track. Yeah,
it was AT&T bought Time Warner, and they within, I think, days launched a TV service.
I'm not surprised.
YouTube is trying to do what they can to make sure that they keep their niche, and renaming their stuff kind of gives it more brand preference or prevalence.
look, YouTube doesn't have a competitor, and that's going to change. I think it's time.
Yep.
It's that simple. They've been around YouTube since '05, and this past 2-3 years, not entirely YouTube's fault. What's been happening with the revenue stream, revenue sharing, it's no wonder things, services like Patreon and GoFundMe are booming because they realize for a lot of folks, not everyone, but for a lot of folks, AdSense sucks. It's that simple. It was good. It was good for me. When I started making some money to cover all this, I was perfectly content on the growth of the AdSense. It was surprising. But I guess if you share good knowledge and be nice to people, you just never know, and some of that is reciprocated. Yep. But then really for me, it started even before the apocalypse. I knew something was up. I just went down the tubes. Now, again, YouTube is trying to clean things up, and we'll talk about that, Tom. I get it. They got hit with, boycott from advertisers, and they are trying. There's two sides to a story. I get it, but in the meantime, some channels suffer. All right, and I think Amazon too. We talked about it. Amazon has the resources. I don't know how they're going to pull it up, but they got it. They got the money. They got the people they can hire. They can pull it off.
They don't have the ad network though, and that's
true. But that could change.
They could pull up a lot, but they couldn't pull off the ad network.
You know what? Why would Amazon need an ad network, Tom? If they charge,
because they have to have something for people to monetize your videos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then what they do is they put an Amazon logo down in the corner of the videos. They can work it into their business model, and they can charge 1/100th, 1,000th of a percent of an upcharge on any item that's ordered through. So, say if Toss had a video link in Amazon, they add 1/100000th of a percent on, and every video that Toss has viewed, they can work it right into their pricing structure. They wouldn't have to run ads.
I guess that could work.
Very easy.
Look, this what we do is $1 billion plus. Not that it comes to us, me or Tom, but I'm just saying that in general, this is $1 billion business and growing. Think about streaming is where it's. I watch very little TV. I'm doing this a lot, or right before bed, I'm on my phone catching up on something. I mean, I'll watch History Channel, Ancient Alien, stuff like that. I watch a TV show called The Blacklist, but that's not a lot. It's usually this. That's where the money's at. That's where the people are gravitating to, picking and choosing what they want to hear, see, hear, engage, and not the crap. What people perceive as crap on TV. It's that simple,
Good case in point for you, Carmine, is right before I jumped on here.
Yeah.
There was a documentary on, I think it was A&E TV that I didn't get to see all of. Sunday nights there's nothing on TV anyways. So I was using the on-demand deal with Xfinity. To go back and watch something I had missed.
Right.
Yep.
There you go. On demand.
Nothing on TV.
I love the Comcast. I got the new box with the voice command. That's wonderful.
Is it? Cool.
There was no extra charge. And the guy says you can have some no extra charge. Are you sure? No, sure. I'm on a budget here, so it's great. I just say Ancient Aliens or Tesla or History Channel. Bam, it's right there. Or PBS, or a concert. Frankie Valli or whatever. But yeah, I mean there's no extra. I mean it's built into the monthly fee. It's not cheap, but it's not extra. Now I don't have HBO or Showtime or the other stuff. I don't need it personally. But this on demand, I want to watch when I want to watch it, and that's why Amazon sees the potential, and they're gonna do it. It's just there's the expression, "Don't leave money on the table." And right now, Amazon is leaving a good $1 billion in revenue on the table, in my opinion, or a potential, billion. Keegan watched documentaries, all kinds of stuff on YouTube. Okay. AJCD, you have YouTube Premium, worth because you also get music. Okay, cool. Yeah, YouTube is trying to fix things. But let's get on to the main topic, and we can talk more about this towards the end. First of all, welcome everybody. Sorry again for the late notice for this Life in Linux number 11, but hey, life happens. But we're here, we're healthy. Tim is joining us from Minnesota. Everybody in the chat, Heather, Kyrie, and all of you, thank you for stopping by. Of course, Switch to Linux. Tom is in. Make sure you check out Switch to Linux here on YouTube. All his links work on his YouTube page, including Patreon.
Yeah.
And so please do check out last week's Life in Linux 10. They talked about VPNs and I think privacy and stuff. Who's watching who, right? I think something like that. So please check that out. CFWW, welcome. One thing before I forget, this weekend, I think, or next weekend, somebody asked me to host a special, what I think is an important live stream, social media and cyberbullying. So I'm going to do that either this weekend or the following weekend. I don't know the times or who wants to be on. I would like Tim and Tom to be there on if you can.
Sure, just let me know.
Yeah, I was born and raised a Catholic Christian. I think, Tom, you were too. Am I right or close?
No, I was as atheist as they come from really bad backgrounds.
Oh, okay. But you have a Christian channel, right?
I do. I do have a Christian.
Okay.
I'm a Christian now, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's what I was. Okay, cool. Because I went to a Christian school, Catholic school. So, and back then, what was happening, what I was learning, and of course, this is before the internet. You know, back then, the most advanced computer we had was a pinball machine. If that tells you anything, you know. But I'll do that this weekend or next week, and I'll let you guys know. But I had I think a teenager sent me an email. I think it's Anthony, wanted me to talk about that. So I will do it. It's something. It's a topic near and dear to my heart. I survived the bullying before cyberbullying. Anyway, I want to get that out of the way, so be on the lookout for that. Brutal Sinner Dark is joining us. Jeez, talk about a segue. Greetings from Portugal. Hola. I think that's hello in Portuguese. I'm not sure. All right, we're going to talk about Linux, of course. The latest Ubuntu telemetry report. I know, Tom, you took a look at it. I took a look at it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first report, so unless we see a pattern, I wouldn't take too much out of it. But there's one thing that caught my eye. Well, a couple things. Well, the one thing that caught my eye, some users were installing it with 1 gig of RAM. Is that even possible, Tom? Or using the gig of RAM?
I mean, it's possible to install something without the minimum, but the minimum system requirement is 2, but it won't stop you from installing it if you have
Okay, all right. That surprised me. And the other thing I saw is only 7% installed it as a dual boot. You know where it says install alongside? Only 7%. Surprised me a little bit, not much, but maybe it shouldn't. But that tells me like a lot of Windows users didn't care for it, unless there was a lot of virtual machines involved. Maybe, Tom?
I suspect there were a ton of virtual machines, and the reason is the vast number of single-core CPUs. Where do you get a single-core CPU these days?
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
Yes, it's possible for sure, but
yeah.
Tim?
On Oh My God Ubuntu, or OMG Ubuntu.
Yeah.
It's different than the article that Toss had posted.
Okay.
They have a little blurb in here that said, and this coincides with what you were saying.
Sure,
Switch.
go ahead. Yeah.
Interestingly, the third most common screen resolution is 800 by 600. And then the author goes on to say, to me, this suggests a chunk of installs happen in a VM, which often defaults to 800 to 600 prior to the graphic drivers and other extras being enabled.
Yeah, let me go ahead and screen share. This should work pretty good. This is one thing I do like about Google Hangouts, so we can all take a look at this. This should work right now. And all right, you guys can see this, right? Okay.
Yep.
All right. So screenshots, obviously here you can. Would you like to send information? I guess 67% said yes. Wasn't that surprising, Tom? Or do you think it's too early to tell?
And that was the number of people who opted in.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
No, I don't find that specifically surprising because that's not necessarily the number of people who opted in. That's the number of people who did not intentionally opt out.
Got it.
Because remember that was my biggest point about the thing is that they specifically said we're making it so it's opt out because most people are simply going to close the window the first time it loads, and if you just close the window the first time it loads, it automatically sends.
Okay. All right.
And so that tells me about 33% of their people are aware of what's going on, are intentionally opting out of it. And that's actually, for me, that is huge. because that tells me a lot of people don't like this.
Okay, all right. The average install 18 minutes. That seems a little slow to me, considering, or is that about right? I don't know. It seems a little long, right. But maybe it's about right. Okay. Fresh installs. Let's see. Is it the number of people upgrading was about a quarter of those installing from scratch. In the end, I believe it is better to install from scratch. I've done upgrades. I haven't had issues, but in the end, you're probably better off installing from scratch, fresh install. Installer options, downloading updates, 90%. This one surprised me. Restricted add-ons like multimedia. You need that to play your multimedia, only 53%. Why? Why so low?
What, do you suppose there's some way that you could differentiate that with the number of VMs?
I don't think you can you? I don't.
Even in a VM, I usually turn it on.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the reports on this actually it suggested things were possibly skewed from the number of updates because the initial beta update upgrade path, if you went from 1710 to an 1804 upgrade path, you did not have the option if you went through beta first.
Okay.
And that we don't know where that messed up with the information or not.
Okay. Okay. CPU, CPU, single CPU. Okay, this one again. What I saw here? Install alongside only 7%. That's not a lot of dual booters. The full install would be erase and install. How I read this was over 50%. Anyway, I guess a lot of Windows users so far don't care for that. Yeah. So far.
And again, that's very indicative of VirtualBox because
true. Yes.
You know, we wipe and install our VirtualBoxes.
True. Yes. Display looks like 1080p was the most popular, followed by 1366, 768. High DPI 4K are not yet commonplace. Okay, fair enough. Few people were using multiple graphics cards. A few people were for learning, machine learning, cryptocurrency, mining, gaming. That would make sense. RAM usage, 1 gig of RAM, really? So, okay. It looks like the most common was 4 and 8. I run it with 4. It's okay. Anything less than 4, man, you're going to have trouble. I mean, it's going to be slow. Looks like somebody had, or a few had, 128 gigabytes of RAM. Yes, that should just be enough to run it. Yes. No, just kidding. But
well, that's probably servers, testing servers, because your servers, you may run a server which runs a massive amount of RAM to split out between VMs.
That would make sense. Okay. And it looks like Ubuntu is used all over the world. Well, we kind of already knew that. You know, Canonical was really the first to try and put Linux in the mainstream. Was it back in 05, 04, 05? And I started using it in 06 because I saw it in a magazine. It's that simple. So this does not surprise me. Now it says here the data is based on time zone selected at installation, not on IP address geocoding. We do not store IP address. I mean, this is preliminary, but I don't see so far. I don't see anything, what's the word, sinister about this or sneaky about this so far. Now, you know, of course, things can change. You know, they may ask more of you, more data as time goes on. I don't know. But from what I saw, I don't see anything that makes me go, hey, you took my data. Why did you? I don't know, Tom. What?
However, this is a process report.
Yes.
This is not you seeing the raw data that they have.
True. Yeah.
That's what I was just going to say. It says we do not store IP addresses.
Right.
But if I'm not mistaken, they did collect the IP address if you opted in. The IP address was collected, correct? Maybe not stored. But
I don't know. I don't know. I think they're gonna have a full report coming up. I thought I read something.
Now, in popularity contests, the IP addresses are cleared once a week.
Okay.
I don't know if this is the same because an IP address has got to be grabbed by something. Now, you have the ability to create a cron, which is going to every minute, every 10 minutes, every hour, every day, you could
Okay.
clear that server lock.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Server grab that information.
It says here. It looks like they're gonna have a public website for this starting in 1810 development cycle. Okay. All right. Fair enough. I don't know. I mean, this is, it's not a complete, detailed report, but they promised they would get this to us, and they have, for what it's worth. Time will tell. Time will tell if this is as harmless as they want it to be, if it'll make Ubuntu better.
Yeah.
I just want it to be faster. At this point, I would love it to be zippy or zippier. I realize it won't be as zippy as Ubuntu or or MX or Linux Lite. I understand that, but it sucks twice as much RAM, as I do with Linux Mint after booting. It does double, so it's not particularly light. It is stable. I will say this: I've had it in my machine now over a month. Haven't noticed any major glitches. It works. It does seem to work out of the box as intended. It does take getting used to if you are a newbie, big time. But it seems to work. So I don't know. That's how I see it. Yeah.
I'm reading more of the OMG Ubuntu article.
Yeah.
I'll post a link for it for folks to look at here in a sec.
Yeah.
So they've gone through essentially everything you went through, Toss.
Yeah.
And then, kind of a segue, it says, so far we're only getting half of the story. Canonical is yet to share word on who the popular device OEM/manufacturer is among Ubuntu 18.04 LTS users. Any guesses? Nor what the most common device is. There's also no word on BIOS info. Author says, not that I'm expecting that to be particularly illuminating, or the number of people who opt into Canonical's kernel live patch service. Admittedly, they're not done yet, though. It will be interesting to see if any dramatic changes occur to these stats after July. That's when those running Ubuntu 16.04 LTS will be notified of the upgrade to 18.04 LTS, and a tide of additional users opt in to the metric collection. Interesting. I guess I was unaware that there was any collection of anything having to do with. I knew that they were going to be looking at OEM at manufacturer data, but I didn't know they were going to be looking at BIOS info.
Mm-hmm.
This is new. This is new territory. The closest thing that was somewhat controversial about Ubuntu was years ago with Unity with the Amazon, link back then. But that was you were able to turn that off. But this is new. A lot of people maybe don't like it. I don't know. All I can tell you is that from what I've seen so far, now things can change. And I realize you start off small and friendly, then you go into this don't go there thing. And I get it. My preferred OS for Linux now is Ubuntu Mate. I like Linux Mint also. I have Ubuntu in my test machine. But from what I've seen so far, again, I don't see anything that makes me go, hey, stop doing that. I don't see it yet. But look, things can change. I understand. But because the Linux community is so vast, and it really is a phenomenon when you think about it, if something unfriendly happens, we're going to see it and hear it immediately. The Linux community is almost like the watchdog.
Yep.
The security of the planet Linux, as it were. So
Planet computer.
Planet computer, right?
I have a question.
Yeah.
When Unity came out and when the Amazon button showed up in the sidebar on Unity, essentially was that not just an affiliate link? type of deal, kind of like you guys have at the bottom
I
of your
believe so, yes.
In fact, it's the same thing that Opera embeds an Amazon affiliate link in their system. So if you're using Opera and you go to Amazon, it was automatically redirecting you to their own affiliate link, which is totally against terms and conditions, by the way.
Okay.
But yes, that's all it was. Now, actually, no, correction. There were two things. Yes, an affiliate link was there, but the second thing is that if you did searches like Windows 10, when you do a search from the start menu, it can do searches through the internet. The searches done through the Unity menu could also search for products on Amazon, which were all affiliate links. But yes, there was some of that, and that's, I think, what most people had an issue with, that the search term you do on your computer would send a query through Amazon, which would attach your IP address as a search through Amazon. And I can completely understand somebody getting a problem with that.
But that you could shut off completely. So it wasn't like you were stuck
shut
with
it off completely. Yes.
Yeah, you had full control on, like, say, Windows then. So, but look, I don't know what this is going to lead to. You know, I dual boot still. Compared to what Windows 10 is, Ubuntu is completely opposite of what the other OS is doing, the blue OS, as I like to call it. But we'll see. You people in the chat, David jumped in. Mr. Datham, are you new to the stream? Welcome if you are. Hope I didn't miss anybody. But what do you guys think? Are you cool so far with what Ubuntu is doing, for what you've seen? Or you're just not going to use Ubuntu, period? I've had some comments saying, forget it, I'm done with Ubuntu. No way, Jose. What do you guys think in the chat? You know, personally, I don't think it's going to make any difference. There are people out there who their first OS, Linux OS, was Ubuntu. They're going to use it probably no matter what, because no matter how bad it gets, it still won't be as bad as Windows. Speculation. Mr. Datham, you are new here. Everybody, we have a custom here on the channel. Please, everybody say hello to Mr. Datham. Welcome.
Hello, Mr. Datham. How are you?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Absolutely. Say hello. Say hello to Tim and Tom. Tom has switched to Linux here on, in fact, here, let me get Tom's Patreon page while we're chatting here. All right. There we go. If you'd like to check out Tom's Patreon page, please do. And let me just post my PayPal link. If you would like to support the channel. If you would like to sponsor the next live event that I mentioned, use this link here for me, if you would, please. And let me know in an email that it's for that next live event, social media and cyberbullying. I'm going to do it whether someone sponsors it or not, by the way. That's just too important. But if you would like to, use that link. So you're welcome, Mr. Datham. Been using Ubuntu since about 1980. You mean you've been using Linux? I don't think Ubuntu was there in 1980, right? Or Unix maybe back then, yeah. Unless that's a typo. If you've been using Ubuntu since you know something that we don't.
Time traveler.
Oh, so Ubuntu was underground back then. Okay, it was a secret military project, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Terry says, I don't feel Ubuntu has done anything shady with the telemetry yet. Okay, some say other distros should do similar to get broader Linux use. Yeah, I mean, if they're trying to do something to get a better feel of what works and what doesn't work, such as bug reports added into that, I'm okay. But I think, Tom, I do have a question. I think you hit it before. Hi, Mark. You would like have. I think you said you want an option where nothing is sent, even the fact that they're being told that nothing is sent, because some people or entities need complete, absolute privacy. Okay, I'm a little. Clear that up for me. Why would anybody need total, complete, 100% privacy versus, say, 99.9% privacy?
Anybody who is working in any activist, whistleblower, any of those type of things, many journalists as well, often need to use more security-focused things. Now, in the past, Ubuntu would be a go-to distro. For example, I mean, of course, this is a more of a negative example, but
Yeah.
realize that the Silk Road was run from Ubuntu. The guy that used it, his username was Frosty. His everything was Frosty on an Ubuntu computer. And so obviously that's more of a negative case, somebody who is allegedly breaking the law, actually convicted for breaking the law. So we can say he was breaking the law. But there are certainly legitimately people who need that degree of privacy. And this is Linux. And people move to a Linux system for some more expectation of privacy than you get. And sure, there's better distros to use if you're looking at pure privacy. You'd want to use Cubes or Tails or Unix or something like that. Probably more Cubes or Tails. But still,
yeah.
If a user is saying do not collect data, the mere fact that you're collecting data that says not to collect data is already violating what you are saying to do. And that's, for me, there should do two things. I'd be perfectly okay with it. Number one, you need to make it opt-in only. And number two, you need to make it so if you do not say you're not collecting data, you don't collect the data, period. And of course, the third thing is don't even install the things that would collect data if you say no. And
so, okay, that sounds reasonable to me. Tim would probably agree. So how do we fix that again? How does Ubuntu fix that, as it were?
Well, the fix to it is the number one fix is that you change it so that it is an opt-in, not an opt-out.
Okay.
Okay, and that's easy. Number two is you simply do not install the applications that do any data collection at all without that explicit opt-in. Right?
All right, but so to play mediator here, I see what Ubuntu is trying to do. Can we justify what they're trying to do in any way, even a little bit? To say, okay, I know what you're trying to do to make the Ubuntu better for all of us in the future on usage, or is that completely, absolutely not necessary what they are collecting, period?
I think that there are other ways to collect information that that do not require that, such as forum things. And this is because they are taking the same exact approach every business is taking to say, we're doing X, Y, Z so you have a better user experience. And it's not about a better user experience. For example, Apple, when they had their iPhone, I'm not going to grab my iPhone for an example, but when they had it was back in like iOS 6 or 7 or maybe 8 or whatever, there was an option to go into your cellular on every app level, and you could go in and say, I do not want this app connecting to any cellular data. So I would turn off the App Store, things like that, all that other stuff that if I don't use it exclusively in my home network, turn it off so that the app cannot access it. But then every time I'm in my home network, it's connected to Wi-Fi, I launch the app, it would give you a pop-up every time. This isn't using the cellular data. Turn this on. It's like, no kidding. I intentionally turned it off. There were 15,000 comments on the forum about that issue, and they wouldn't do anything about it for 4 years. You see, there's better places to figure out what the issues are.
From a user perspective, from where I sit, this is a caveat. I've said it before. Privacy is important to me, but I do use Google services simply from a convenience standpoint on my Android phone, and on generally speaking, this about any Linux distro I use. I agree wholeheartedly with Tom. In it that one of the reasons which has been discussed ad nauseum to a degree is how Windows is non-transparent. They do all this stuff behind the scenes, and they're not being transparent. Toss has said it before. If Microsoft would have been 100% transparent, there'd be a different attitude there. And I think all of us could.
And the master on-off switch too.
Yes,
both.
And
then we would have been,
Yep. And I think we can agree if they would have been transparent and they had that switch, that's good. However, just from the standpoint of installing an open sourced piece of software, in my mind, even though yeah, Ubuntu's tied into Canonical. Canonical is a corporation, blah, 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 blah. I don't think my operating system should really give a rat's rear end what it's going on. If there's a reason for Canonical to want to collect this data, there should be no reason that during the installation process, I can't remember if the slideshow is still on the new installer in Ubuntu. I think it is.
I think it is, yeah. Right,
in
Tom?
one way, shape,
Isn't
or
it?
form.
I think so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Why could there not be a very, very simple slide on that slideshow that says, we'd like to know what you're using our operating system on. Please go to www.blah-blah-blah-blah-blah.com. Or last time I installed Manjaro and a few other OSs, post-install, there's a link on the desktop that says, connect to our IRC channel, connect to our user forums, stuff like that. Why would that not be a reasonable option? Rather than having the OS interfere with the installation process and want to collect this information from me to begin with. Because at that point, it is 100% opt-in.
Mm-hmm.
There's no garbage in between. There's no just going through the installer like all of us have done at times. I've got to get something quick on my machine. For instance, last night my Peppermint 9 installation died. For whatever reason, I'm having a problem with 18.04 distros. So I threw elementary back on my box. I went through the installer, bang, 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 bang. I was through the installer in like 30 seconds and let it run.
Okay. Yeah.
If something shows up on my desktop that says start here or the welcome screen, how many distros have welcome screens? Put a link on the welcome screen. We'd like to know what you're using this on because we would like to get a better cross-section of the data of what our users are running our OS on so we can help out with what it is you're doing. They can do that, and there's no pull downs. You type in what you are using. There's no reason that they cannot take that data off of a simple text form and aggregate that data into a database. Very simple to do.
So it sounds like, at least for Ubuntu, it sounds like the better option now would be when that screen pops up saying, "Hey, this is something new that we're doing now with 1804." So have that telemetry off by default, and you have to turn it on. Is that where we have an agreement here? Turn it on. It's off by default, right?
Mm-hmm. Off by default, on by option. Perfectly okay with that.
Perfectly okay.
And that's what Debian does, and Debian's done that for a while.
Okay. Yes. Through the install. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Now that's PopCon, which is different than what Ubuntu's collecting.
Okay. Canonical, if you're listening, to make everybody, well, you can't make everybody happy, but to make a lot of, maybe that's the answer. Sounds fair to me. That way, if anybody purposely chooses yes, well, they chose it. They have nothing to really gripe about, right? Mm-hmm. People here in the chat, I mean, I'm not sure what you guys think. Steven says you opt in, but also use Windows, so it does not bother me. I am not so paranoid. Okay. Yeah, the latest Windows 10 major update, I can delete. I have a privacy function where I can delete the data that was sent to Windows.
It's already sent.
It was already sent. What am I deleting?
Yeah, it's actually the same thing that Apple does when they collect information on their phone in the bug reports section.
I haven't deleted anything. I say some space maybe on my hard drive. Whoop-de-doo.
I'll tell you why I think they did that, because they realized that their operating system was now starting to take up tons of information in logs. And so it was a way to look transparent while they
are not.
They look
transparent. They got what they wanted
while they are clearing stuff off your hard disk to make more room for more of their stuff.
This is, look, I use Windows 10. Putting aside the politics, we've talked about this. Gaming, it works. It just works. It really does. But the politics, I think, have potentially ruined it. I think right now this is a golden opportunity for Linux whatever entity out there to make a mass-marketed, affordable Linux desktop. This is your time. Whoever that is, Google, ABC Corporation, forget about a corporation. I don't know, but this is your time, because there's a lot of people out there who are not happy post Windows 7, with the forced updates and upgrades and the telemetry and the spying, potential spying. This is it. Whoever's out there with the power to make a mass market affordable, that's the key word. This is your time. But we'll see what happens. Joe disagrees. Okay, Joe. That's cool.
See, what are you disagreeing with, Joe? Are you disagreeing with the time to create, or what?
Joe said it's not the politics; it's the corporate greed. You know what? I can agree with that statement to a perspective.
Yeah,
but you know what?
Fair enough.
If
If
you didn't have the politics,
if
you didn't have the politics,
yeah,
would you have the greed?
Right, and I would lump that in the same. But that's fine, Joe. Yeah, but I mean, I'm still going to stand with what now is the time. But Google can do it. Amazon can do it. They got the resources. Not that they have to, but
and you take the size of the people like Google and Amazon.
Yeah.
There's right now when we look at things through a set of glasses with Linux in them. Mm-hmm. We have the Windows machines, which you can go out, you can buy those from anywhere from $250 up to whatever.
Yeah.
For a laptop. And then you have the Linux folks, hardware producers that produce the hardware, and they are Linux. They are Linux orientated. If a person like Google, if an entity like Google or Amazon was to come through, and because they're able to adjust where their money is coming from and how they market, which marketing is pretty easy for both of those people, if they came up with a Linux machine and call it Chrome Linux or call it Amazon Linux, whatever the case was, and they built a decent say $400 machine, what would that do to get Linux out to the masses? How much would that help? To me, it would be a wonderful idea.
I remember maybe not quite 10 years ago. By the way, Joe, if you want to join us, I sent you a link if you want to. I believe maybe it was 10 years. I can't remember, 10 years ago. I remember Walmart was trying to sell a Linux machine called GOS. Something like GOS. Great. So I downloaded the ISO. Oh my, it was I remember telling myself, this is really bad. This is really garbage. And it went nowhere. I always say you'll never get a second chance to make a good first impression. And they blew it. I don't know if Walmart blew it or the developer. Well, not Walmart because they don't make computers. But they blew it. But I think that there's another opportunity now.
And if Google did it, they'd have a lot. They would have a lot of reputation behind them. Amazon even more so.
Think there's 1 billion users of Android phones, right?
Yep.
Think a mass-marketed desktop affordable. You just sync all your stuff like an iPhone. Boom, you're ready to go. You think people wouldn't go for that? And not worry about malware, generally speaking? You think people wouldn't buy that? I don't know, guys. What do you say?
I personally wouldn't, but I can understand most people would.
Yeah, because you and I can, tweak it, but mom and pop won't have a clue. They're gonna say, "What's a kernel?" Like we're talking corn on the cob or what?
Well, what I'm talking about is I don't want stuff that auto syncs, things like that.
Oh, okay, all right. It's just a matter of convenience,
But
I would probably buy one, yeah.
And somebody like I can see where Amazon.
Hi, Joe.
They would have a problem. They would have a problem trying to get the infrastructure set up to produce the hardware.
Mm-hmm.
Google, honestly, with a Chromebook that is being built right now, what would they have to do? They would have to increase the RAM, they would have to increase the SSD. Because aren't all Chromebooks?
They're fairly, as far as I think they are. I don't have one. I think they're all
fairly low level.
Yeah.
Yep. But
Yeah,
all
as
they
well
would
as
have to do is you build something that's just, you know, maybe a level or two beyond this standard Chromebook offering, and they've already got the hardware. Because let's face it, we just saw with Ubuntu, the most common footprint of RAM is 4 GB. That would be, I think, would be relatively easy. I'm not sure about hard drive space, but let's take DT for example. He bought a hard drive for that ThinkPad he got, 256 for $50.
Yeah.
Forget about the the make and everything else and everything. Google could get a pretty good reliable SSD into a Chromebook for 20 or $30. What I ventured to say. So
you can, I think, a company like Google or Amazon, whoever has the resource, I think you can build a desktop, same specs as Windows, whatever the specs are, put ABC Linux, and charge $50 to $100 less on a comparable Windows machine, in my opinion. At least $50 less. You think consumers wouldn't go for that? Just say, hey, this is less money. You get the same 30-day money-back guarantee, 1-year warranty. There's a name behind it for support. You think a customer wouldn't buy that? Let's say they did.
Yeah, as long as it's low end, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, say mom and dad buys it, for their kid just learning, computers. They generally don't have to worry about malware. Generally speaking, nothing's perfect. It's going to run faster. There won't be forced upgrades. You have control over privacy. It syncs immediately with if you have an Android phone, good to go. If you so choose to sync, there should be an on-off choice for that.
Yeah.
Easy to upgrade, update all your apps, and it doesn't require 4,000 or 6,000 reboots as a Windows 10. It seems I'm over exaggerating, of course. You think they wouldn't buy that if they were told before? If you buy this ABC computer, okay, Linux computer, this is what you can do. This is what you can do. Like every computer, there are pros and cons. Okay, yes, you can do gaming if you want to. You got to move up a little bit, the processor and the graphics, just like you would in Windows. But this is what you will be able to do. Is this for you? Have a spokesperson. Best Buy has representatives, like for Apple and this, and that's what I think Walmart, whoever would need to answer questions. You know what I mean? So the consumer knows ahead of time. But that being said, I realize some consumers just may be dense. They just don't get it. That's fine, sir, ma'am. You get 30-day money-back guarantee, no questions asked. You think they wouldn't try? Yeah.
And if you have somebody there who doesn't walk through it pretending because they don't know themselves. So many times you get these kid employees or whatever, they don't know. They're just, they're got limited training, if anything, and they're trying to do the right thing, but you can tell they don't really know what they're talking about. But if you get somebody out there that can explain it, show it, let them touch and feel, walk them through it, especially elderly actually adapt easier to Linux. I don't know if it's because, and forgive me for saying it this way, it's like the mind of a child, who's innocent and just, is learning something new for the first time and that kind of thing.
No preconceived notions.
But I think, and getting back to the Windows stuff I commented on before, I guess it's the word politics refers to, politicians, most of them are inherently dishonest. I mean, we know that. But I've never liked calling Microsoft's methods political or politics. I just think it's their business methods they were just not transparent, as you said, less than forthcoming, and it's their business model that's the problem, because it's the underhanded way that they want to make money without telling you things. Where I agree with Ubuntu collecting stuff now, on the surface, because, and I hate to say this, we are all tainted initially coming from Windows or whatever because of how they did things. You think everybody's like that, and there's always a chance that, let's face it, Canonical could go down that path eventually. I hope not, but I think there'd be more control over stopping them than somebody like Microsoft. I think Microsoft has been collecting data probably ever since they put an OS on your system and internet was connected to it, because that's how they improve the system user experience, by knowing how the machines work and all this other thing. And then their business model along the road has changed into more money, more money, more money, and that's where we're getting into this whole issue. One more thought, Tom. I think Canonical needs this information along with other developers as well, if it's going to help them improve the OS or distro. Let's call it distro. It's not really an OS, because the biggest complaint, we sit here over and over and talk about NVIDIA sucks, this sucks, it doesn't run good on here, none of that. Well, why? Because the hardware is so different, and if they could start collecting this hardware and making the fixes that it needs to run these things better, that's what I'm for, and that's where I think this information is huge, and it needs to be done for that in order to get Linux up into a competitive arena. So that's my speech.
From a user perspective, you know what, I can really agree with that, because last night, I don't know if you had heard, Joe, last night my Peppermint 9 installation is kind of bugged out on me, and I've had some problems with the 1804 based stuff. I don't know what the deal is. I'm not the tech guy. I'm not going to spend a lot of time, because I want to turn my computer on and have the thing work. So I threw Elementary back on. Works perfect. And again, if collecting data would make it easier for a company like Canonical to, outside of wanting to know user metrics, if they're actually using that dedicatedly day in and day out and giving that information to their developers, and then looking at the issues that are cropping up, like my video card is this junk, the drivers are this trash, this, that, and everything else. If they were using it dedicatedly for that, I think that's a good deal. Honestly, I really do.
And where you're concerned, how old is that machine you're on?
The one that I'm on right now, I bought.
That Peppermint 9 went bad on. Is that the machine?
Yeah, I bought this in December or January, and it was probably on the shelf for a couple of months before I bought it.
Okay, so it's a newer machine.
Yeah, within the last year.
And that's the thing, because one of the things is what they're always saying, with the theory. As soon as you bring up Linux, people say, "Oh, it runs great on old machines." The thing is it runs great on newer machines too. It's just there is a difference in the newer hardware now, and I don't know quite what it is, but I've had fantastic luck with Peppermint on some machines, and I've had this machine here is a perfect example. I've had multiple XFCE distros on here and had nothing but nightmares with it, and yet I'm running one right now that's fantastic. And I finally figured out my printer driver issue today. I got a different driver in here, and the printer's working fantastic now. So, but I don't know if that's ever, in theory, I shouldn't say ever. I don't know if it's something that is going to change right away, but I do think that they need this valuable information to move forward. I don't want necessarily them to worry about looking backward on older hardware. We need to look forward at what now and what's coming down the pike, and look at Ryan talking about the Ryzen, the line that he's using and stuff, and AMD and how well it's doing. So to me, there's got to be Derek says the same thing. Linux got to be a little painful. There's got to be some painful strides made here to get there. And I think getting it on the shelf, getting it in front of people with marketers is Dell offers it, but how many people really know that? And Dell's line that they offer them on are typically not inexpensive machines. They're normally, pushing $1,000, $800,000, $900,000 machines.
One of the things, I think, Toss, you might have mentioned this earlier on a different show, is that where Apple.
Nope.
Well, he's having huge problems tonight.
Tom, you keep cutting in and out. I'm not sure what's going on. If you can hear us, Tom, maybe you refresh it or
The other issue coming up with newer hardware, or that's been kind of thing, is I don't like the pull or the reach of Microsoft dictating to these hardware manufacturers. If it comes down to independents building machines, specifically for Linux to run better on, I'm all for that. But if Microsoft has a deal with Intel that they're going to lock out Linux eventually or whatever, you're dead in the water, no matter what you do.
Yeah, Tom, you were cutting out. Sorry.
Yeah,
I couldn't.
Tom, you were there, so I just jumped in.
Yeah, that's fine, Joe. Yeah.
Why couldn't Dell just? I understand Dell. To me, Dell is not a powerhouse like an Amazon or a Google. Different industry, of course, but what do you guys suppose would happen if Dell grabbed one? What's kind of the cheaper Dell range or the less inexpensive line of Dell laptops?
Well,
like
I've got an Inspiron 3567 here. It's a few months old, so the lower, the entry level Inspiron line. This is a little bit more than entry level, but it's still entry level. I paid $350 for it or whatever.
Okay. Okay.
What would happen if Dell, honestly, quite honestly, what would happen if Dell took a computer like Joe's got, say $350 to $400, and threw Ubuntu at it? They've already got it. They've already got the in-house development side to get Ubuntu onto machines and have it run reliably. Correct?
Right.
Because what I've seen, these XPS or whatever the heck they are, the XPS laptops that have Ubuntu on them from Dell, they're like $800 plus. I haven't seen anything online anywhere that people are just frustrated. They're ready to throw the machine out the window on the way back to the store to return it. What if Dell used their in-house know-how through Ubuntu at a $350 laptop, and then do it, say, beginning of November, and have a banner on their website.
Well, something in mind though, Tim. This $350 laptop on sale was a Windows machine. It still has Windows on there, which I don't use it. But so if you take Windows out of the equation, now what is the cost of that laptop?
Exactly.
It's not just that; it's their marketing. They got to put the banner. You know how their banners change and they show the interactive stuff. They've got to have this stuff out there so people know what it is. That's the biggest problem. Is it's not put out there.
Can you guys hear me now or not?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom, go ahead. You were saying I saw something or whatever.
Before we get into that, I'm just want to check this. My video feed coming in and out, or is it just audio sounds bad? What's the issue we're seeing?
It's the video and audio that was going in and out, both. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering if my router
video is worse.
Yeah, you're like choppy. Yeah.
Okay. Part of it might be because I'm working on something on a VirtualBox, but I'll try showing it.
There you go.
But I don't know if that's the case or not. That usually doesn't cause a problem.
Okay.
What I was saying is that where Apple really started to show a lot of success, they realized that they had to do better than just mail order stuff, and so they started appointing Apple employees in Best Buy stores and anywhere where they would sell the computers.
Yes.
Linux would need to do something like that. The question is who and what, which raises a new issue.
I would do it, but I'm not going to do it for minimum wage. I mean, that's just dumb, But I would do it because, number one, I think I've had enough experience in Linux since 2006. I'm by no means, because I don't use only Linux 24 hours a day, I'm not what I would call an advanced user, as opposed to say Tommy uses it most of the time and quids up,
Yeah, and we wouldn't need an advanced user in there because, an advanced user on the Windows system would be like, this is how you do the PowerShell. We don't need that. We need somebody that can show them, hey, we can do a writing suite here. Here is your gaming suite.
But I think in a Best Buy or whatever, but I think a Windows user like myself who understands Windows users, their concerns, will this work? Will that work? What can you tell me? I could tell them, well, I use Windows 10. I use different forms of Linux. Let me explain why. Okay, keep it simple. All right, if you're heavy into gaming, maybe Linux is not ready for you yet. But look, most people don't do what me and Tom do. Most mom and pop don't do what we do, right? So they don't need heavy graphics cards or like an advanced CPU. They just want to get on the web, share their family photos, plug in their camcorder, their Android phone to share photos, and they're happy. They're a happy camper, right? Probably.
Type a
letter. So you don't need 16 gigs, 128 gigabytes of RAM that we saw on the Ubuntu thing. You don't need a multi-core machine. You know, you don't need mom and pops don't need that.
That's the other thing though, that the problem with that picture that I have, is it shouldn't be presented that that's the only thing it's good for. If you haven't played Ballistic Overkill, $5 buy the game. I think you'll like. If you like shooter, it's phenomenal. To me, it's almost like a marriage of Halo and Battlefield 3. Gearing up, the equipment type thing together. It's a blast. I played it last night with Rocco and the guys, and I had
cool. I saw it. Yeah, it's nice. Yeah,
and graphics are fantastic on it.
Nice.
It's AAA graphics on it, the way it ran.
Okay, here.
Okay.
You make a good point, but here's the thing: until Linux, whatever company can prove themselves, until they can match Microsoft for gaming. I can't go and say Linux on gaming on Linux is just as good as I can't do that.
But see, here's the thing: you're looking at just AAA games too. Here are independents that are producing games that are just as good, in my opinion, as AAA. The way they look and appear and run. And the thing is there are plenty of games for people to try out there. So unless somebody's so, pardon the phrase, hell bent on having to have certain AAA games, Battlefield and Halo and all of those, if they're more open-minded to it, it's one more thing to present to people and show that Linux can do gaming.
Yes, it can.
It's in a more limited format to some extent, but it has. Look, these games weren't out here how many months ago? And they're here now, and there's more and more of them coming, it seems like, every day. So to me, I don't like the idea of Linux being presented as just the simplistic basic entry level, because there's guys that do media production with them. I mean, look at Jupiter Broadcasting. They're using all of the other software that's in there for that too. In fairness.
This is another reason why I want to be cautious. And you make a good point, and that's fine. Again, you'll never get a second chance to make a good first impression, right? So start off small and say, look, this machine, we guarantee it 99.9% that what you want to do, mom and pop,
every day,
it's going to, 99, nothing's 100%. That's how confident I am working for ABC Linux or whatever it is, okay? If we sell enough machines and almost none are coming back, now let's work on the other threshold of gaming in Linux. If you see that, because now Linux has the ABC Linux box has proven itself, right? Let's plant the seeds and look, because bad word of mouth, bad news goes a lot farther than good news, because it's human nature. Oh my God, that totally sucks. But you don't usually hear, oh my God, that was the best machine. You're not going to hear that.
But
you hear, hey, try this machine, try that. You know what I mean?
It's all in presentation too. Now let's play devil's advocate. The other side of it. I'm working at Best Buy, and all of a sudden I get some kid or even some middle-aged guy. Walk up and say, hey, I'm so curious about Linux. I do like gaming. I do some media production. Can it do that? What do you have that it can do? Now you have a machine that's available, and you say, well, this machine will do it too. Keep in mind, yes, we all know about Windows, and we've all heard of the blue screen of death and whatever. Yes, it's not perfect. Can it have problems? Sure, like anything else. But will it perform to do this, this, and this? And you go down the list, and you show them. So again, it still comes back to educating and having the right people doing the education.
I suppose if you're upfront with them and say, look, you can buy this machine for $400 or a multimedia machine for $900, but just to let you know, Linux is getting there to match Mac and Windows and multi. It ain't quite there, but we think it's 90%. Maybe that's all you need. I guess if you present it upfront and be completely honest, then I'm good with that. But I can't cross that threshold yet.
Well, I still think Linux has got better gaming than Apple does. So that's just my opinion.
Well, I don't have Apple, so I will see that. Well, Windows. Look, we all know Windows controls gaming. That's all there is to it. Until that,
But I'm on 4.5-year-old hardware, even though it's technically considered newer hardware. Still 4.5-year-old hardware. And this machine's runs just as good, if not better, than when I built it brand new.
Awesome. We mentioned Apple just a tad. There's a reason why, and I see a lot of professional. Now, when I say professional YouTubers, 500,000 subscribers, million. You know what I mean? They just use Apple. There's got to be a reason for it. They're not dummies,
Well, there was a time that Apple was so far ahead of Windows in production that a lot of people are just there because of habit.
Yeah.
I would say though that Windows and Apple are equally good on that type of production. I mean, Linux is fine on production. I mean, frankly, it's fine. It's not as good in many ways, but I'm happy with the trade-offs personally.
Yeah, for us that are used to it and know what we're doing, sure. Yeah. Go ahead.
Going back to a comment Tom made and that you guys have been talking about, is you walk into the Best Buy and there's people from Microsoft there, there's people from Apple there selling their things, or presenting to get the sale rather. You look at Linux as a whole from a community perspective, and let's face it, Linux users are pretty dang passionate about what they're doing on the machine that's in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
More so than any Windows user or more so than any Windows users. I'm not that familiar with Macs. I know that
Mac,
people.
You're diehard. If you're a Mac user, you're diehard.
Yeah, you're a diehard.
Probably, yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Why not take people out of the community? There are enough people using Linux right now. Yeah, we only have 2 or 3% market share. Blah blah blah. There's enough people out there in the community that I bet you, if somebody like Dell created that $300 to $400 machine, they opened up a user forum and somehow got people in the community to opt in, I bet you the appearances of people out of the Linux community, like the Carmines, the Joes, the Toms, and the Tims, that would have maybe an hour or two that they could do once, maybe twice a week, to go and stand with a Dell shirt or ABC Linux shirt on at a Best Buy and do it free of charge. I bet you they would do it.
Oh yeah, and the other, here's the other thing. If you remember a while back, I mentioned when I went to go get the iPhones, right? We went up to Apple, didn't know that we had to make this big long appointment. There were 2 employees there. All of a sudden, half an hour later, or 15 minutes, or whatever it was, it seemed like a half an hour, 6 other ones walk out of the back that were on break. The store was full. It's this big, huge store up in Madison.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm standing there with my wife, and I happened to mention to the kid about Linux. I don't remember how I came up or why. 3 other employees that were working with customers stopped what they were doing, turned around, and jumped into our conversation. They were like just enthralled in it. They just wanted to be involved. They loved it. So there's enough techie people out there, even on the Mac side or whatever, that do know about this. So it still comes back to the same thing. It's not out there where it needs to be.
There's nothing better, in my opinion, because I was with the company 25 years. There's nothing, and it was interacting with customers, people. There's nothing better than face-to-face. You have a problem, sir, man? Well, let me show you personally. And this is before YouTube and the internet, back in the 90s, 92, Let me show you. And even today, customers appreciate personalized service. Make them feel like you respect them, you understand them. Yeah, they can jump on YouTube. Oh, I found the answer here. That's great. What we do is fantastic, I think. That's how I learned about Linux. But not a lot of people have the patience I had. Remember, I didn't have these channels to help me out back at those. I learned it on my own, trial and error. So for new users, let me just say you have to be patient. Something out there is going to work for your hardware. It will. It may be the first one. It may be the 100th one. I don't know. And if you don't have the patience for that, completely understandable. But again, there's nothing like the face-to-face communicate, human to human, not human to TV screen or computer screen. It's not the same. It just isn't. But you're right. You got to have the people out there, Apple or whoever. Yes, I'm familiar with that, sir. That problem. I'll be with you as soon as I can. The human interaction. You can't replace that. I'm sorry. With robots or YouTube, you can't. This is good. There's nothing wrong with it up to a point, And some people need hand-holding. That's all there is to it.
I was just noticing a comment, and I told him I would laugh. Maverick had said, talking about developers and games, put them out for consoles first and PCs being an afterthought. I don't necessarily agree with that 100% either anymore, because PCs was ground, number one. Number two, he talks about, unless it's AAA titles, they're not being ported over. Another point I don't agree with, because Payday 2 was ported over.
Okay.
I'm drawing a blank, and I apologize, but if we watch yesterday's videos with Rocco and them, they talked about another AAA game that got ported over. So more and more of those are getting ported over.
Yes.
And I think you're going to see it keep gaining ground and growing, especially with a platform like Steam. You know, that's the one thing that I got to give Steam a lot of credit for, because they've given a venue to these games that otherwise probably would be lost or wouldn't be being ported over. So maybe I'm just I said this before, even with over time, I am passionate and I'm a hopeful, optimistic.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what a lot of this is. But when I see progress, that really gets me excited even more. Gives me the belief that we are going in the right direction.
David says, "Where's the big money behind Linux?" I don't see it today. There really is. You know, when I started this channel over 8 years ago, it was a hobby. I was so curious about, to me, was a different, exciting technology when I started with Ubuntu in 06 as a Windows user. Now I have an open mind, and I've always been into technology ever since I was a little kid with the original Star Trek series. I was so curious that I was willing to learn on my own for the most part. So if you are a Windows user, I get it. I've been there. But I did it as a hobby. You know, I made friends, and as the years went on, you know, we talked about the AdSense revenue. Oh, what I'm doing pays for itself, and I could put a few dollars in my pocket, not much, you know, and that was cool. But it wasn't big money, and of course, all that crashed, you know, with AdSense and all that. It's disheartening. But we still have a passion for Linux and sharing it to the world, because you do have choices, you know. But is there big money in Linux? Well, maybe it's coming. I don't know, but it's not there. It just isn't.
Maverick made a point. He said, "Still, the Steam machine was a failure."
It was. I read that. Yeah.
Now, what? Okay. Now this comes from a very ignorant person when it comes to gaming. I know what game consoles are. I know that you can game on a PC. I know that you can probably game. I think you can probably game a fair amount on a Mac.
Yeah.
And I understand what Steam is for Linux.
Yes.
From a gamer's perspective, and from a technical perspective, why was the Steam machine a failure? Really, why was it? Was it a marketing
There were
issue?
delays in testing it, I believe. And I could be wrong, but somebody correct me if I am. I believe there were delays in testing it. There were delays in marketing it, was part of it. The specs weren't quite up to snuff to match, say, a Microsoft console. And you have to at least match it, if not better it, to impress it. But if you could at least match it, the lack of a Halo comparable game to say, hey, you think Halo's good? Now try this. It's not out there. It just isn't, or it wasn't. You know, Halo set the standard, I think, for gaming back in 01. Microsoft, they did that right. And it's not just the game, it's the whole universe, the soundtracks I bought, the books, maybe it's one in a million what they did, I don't know, but they nailed it. It isn't just the game, it's the whole, you know, universe of Halo. And there wasn't on Steam, there was nothing on there, still isn't, to compare to that. Now, I don't think that's necessary. But from what I understand, there were delays, the hardware, the graphics weren't quite up to snuff, and once again, you'll never get a second chance to make a good first impression. That's why I'm so leery about promoting gaming on Linux, you know.
What else does Valve do besides trying to get the Steam machine off the ground? What else does Valve do?
Well, it's a platform for gamers. It's basically they're selling games, you know, at a discount or whatever. They still have $60 games on there too, but you know, it's a platform for. Matter of fact, I just noticed too that there were some live streams going on there too. So basically, it's a multi-platform, not only for selling the product, the games itself, but interaction. There's forums. There's all kind. It's a place for people in the gaming community to kind of come together. It's just one. It's one entity, but it's still, you know.
So would it be correct in saying, in a roundabout way, Valve was trying to take their entire platform and put it on this box that sits on your...
I don't know. Yes and no. I mean, obviously it would be connected to that, but I think what it was the console experience. And I agree with what Carmine said. I don't know a ton about it, but what I think it was, as he said, something that, and that is a perfect example of releasing something too soon or too quick. It's no different than some of these distros that come out and all the bugs that are full of them just because they want to meet a deadline. You know,
right, yeah. I remember the story of Halo and the Xbox, the first one. They took their time to get it right. But when the game was in development, I read the history of it. They asked the music composer Martin O'Donnell, and during an interview, he said, "Well, Microsoft approached me, and they said we want to introduce Halo to the world." And Marty had this grandiose vision of not just a game, but a universe, a movie type of game. So, and you don't know Marty, but he's probably most famous for, he wrote "We're the Flintstone Kids," da 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 da. He wrote that. Anyway, he's like a jingle guy. But I think he wrote music for Myst. There was a PC game. So he has a gift. He has a talent. So he was asked to introduce this game. And Joe, that's an example of being ready and doing it right. So the story goes, Marty was in his car. He saw the game, I guess. There was nothing. There was no music at all, which is amazing to get something from nothing to make this music. But he had a vision of monks. Oh, and that's how the music came. Just, what a gift. But the point I'm getting at, everything fell together because it was time. Okay? It wasn't too soon, too late. It was just right. And that's why Halo made history. It just did. And the Xbox was a success because of Halo. They got it right the first time. Okay? And it still survived. Now Halo 6 is coming out this year, I guess. If people are going to plunk down the $60, I probably will. And that's the only time, very few games nowadays, in fact, I haven't bought a game in years. I'm waiting for the Halo game to plunk down $60 because it's probably going to be worth it. Probably. I know the quality of it, the music and the voice actors. It's good stuff, But it's rare to have all those elements, that chemistry hit, where the consumer says, "Yeah, here's my money. Here you go." So that's how I see it as far as Linux gaming, and maybe in the future. So yeah.
One more question. Okay, and I'm probably oblivious to a lot of the mechanics behind the Linux Foundation. Okay, but just looking at it from face value, the Linux Foundation is there to further the development and further the cause of open source software, specifically Linux. Is that a true statement?
This sounds reasonable. I don't know too much about them.
Is that reasonable?
I would say so. Yeah.
Okay. Why hasn't the Linux Foundation, if they want to further the usage of Linux and understanding the market behind the gaming side, why hasn't the Linux Foundation, which I believe they do pretty good on their donations, why haven't they stepped in and done anything?
I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah, I'd have to look into that. But that part I don't know. There are either a combination of politics, market forces, personalities that are not coming together, that have not come together to create a viable alternative replacement to a Microsoft computer. For whatever reason, I don't know all of it. I'm not on the inside. I wish I was. But something has been stopping it, and I'm not sure what that sentence is, why we don't have it yet.
Money.
I'd wager we're close.
Yeah.
It's just if somebody at the Linux Foundation realizes the importance of gaming, we could be in good place.
Yeah.
Or the game developers. Lobby the game developers to develop for Linux.
And perhaps an answer would be, okay, Joe, you mentioned gaming. Maybe if ABC Linux Company will make a machine, have two machines. One is for gaming, one is not. Simple. You have one or two choices, ma'am, sir, and that's it for now, because we want these to be the perfect machines that are out there. We got to start small with two. This is 400, this is 800. Here's the reason why. You want a game or you don't want a game. Keep it simple. Maybe that's the answer. I don't know. Yeah.
The hardware for gaming machines is going to be very similar for media production. So you could actually theoretically, now that granted you're going to have more, I think more of the masses for gaming than you would media production, but the difference would be instead of maybe a GTX type card or one of the newer RX cards or whatever, the Vega cards, you might need might need a Quadro card. or something like that, because the FPS are different for those and how they're presented.
Right.
So,
Right.
yes, you still need CUDA cores and all that, but the FPS are run differently, because believe it or not, if you try to use a gaming card and you're doing rendering or the 3D and the float around type thing or whatever, you're going to get stuttering and screen tearing possibly because the FPS is going through a gaming card too fast. Where a Quadro card will kind of throttle that down to a proper speed, even though it's a higher rate speed. So, but that's, you know, that's just a simple change or whatever, or a simple upgrade or that kind of thing. So, but yes, you're right. I think if you have a couple of tiers to start out with to kind of, because people aren't going to get introduced to Linux on gaming if you don't have something there to show them either, you know, for what there is out there. And I don't think it's too early for that, because again, I think there's enough games out there to have fun with. I mean, look at the popularity of Minecraft, okay, and look at you know, what is it, the Super Tux card? Yeah, they're very similar when you think about it. Yeah, with the
simple.
I don't want to use I don't want to use the word crudeness, but the simplistic of the graphics and all that, and it's a blast. I mean, Minecraft is like one of the most popular games out there, and that's as ugly as they get of a game, but the kids love it. You know, so
do you think Linux? Do you think if the Linux community, let's just say, as a whole, for lack of a better term, do you think if we just said collectively, to hell with gaming, we want to make the best computer that, say, 90% of the population can use, it's cheap, it's reliable, it's inexpensive, it's reliable, and it's going to do everything that a bloated Microsoft machine is going to do for you. But it's going to have a longer lifespan. It is going to have the same tier hardware. And if you want to do gaming, that's cool. There's game consoles out there. There's people that do it better than us. If the Linux community as a whole, this took that transparent attitude, because let's face it, we've talked about Microsoft Windows. The reason that some of us don't like it is because of the transparency. If the Linux community was completely transparent on the upfront and said, look, we're not in this to cover the 1 out of, let's pull a number out of the air, the 1 out of 50 people or the 1 out of 50,000 people that do video production. We're not looking at those folks. And we're not looking at the 1 out of 50 or 500 or 5,000 that are doing hardcore gaming. We're not looking at that. We're looking for people who just simply want to sit down, like me. I want to power on my computer. I want to type in a password. I want to be on the web in the matter of seconds. I want to type a letter. I want to send an email. I want to receive an email, and I'm good to go. Let's face it. If Tom was not doing the video production side of all the things that he's doing, you know, the development he's doing for companies, things of that nature, all the server work he's doing, if he wasn't doing video production on his machine, he wouldn't have went out and bought a Ryzen chip here not too long ago. Yep. More than likely not. Toss, if you weren't doing this video stuff and uploading things onto YouTube, and by the way, Toss is using, let's just say, not the highest spec of machines.
It's not. This thing's like 6-7 years old, but it works. I got it working. Works. Right.
If we're going to complain about if we're going to complain about transparency through Microsoft, maybe there's a point that we just need to come together as a community and be transparent and say, you know what? Within certain terms, gaming on Linux is good, but if you compare to gaming on Linux to, say, gaming on Windows, we suck.
You know what the best part about that, though? I'm sorry, Carmen. I just
go.
What he's talking about, though, and it goes back to kind of what you were saying earlier. You basically capture the everyday user market. You get started there. You capture the market with that, and the beauty of that is now you don't just stick with one distro. You give them choices, and you say, "Hey, okay, you want to do some additional stuff. Here's all this. Here's another machine. This has Ubuntu Studio on it. Well, what's the difference between a regular Ubuntu and Ubuntu Studio? Well, one's you show them the GNOME. You know, it's a little more simplistic. It's less complicated. Maybe there's less software available, whatever. Then you go over and you show them Ubuntu Studio and you say, well, and you got it full boat loaded, and you say, look at all the software that's here. You know, you can, if you're into video production, whatever, and guess what the best part is? The prices are the same. You know why? Because the distros don't cost any different. They're both zero. You know, It takes the same amount of time to put it on there. And it's just giving them, and that I think would be huge if you could give them 2 or 3 or 4 choices of distros for whatever their workflow might be that they might like. Because look at the difference in how many people I maybe like FXCE over maybe Mate or what. So you give them 3 or 4 choices of the type of distro. You know,
I would.
It's huge, and for the same.
Yeah, true. If I was the spokesperson for Linux, how would I go? Like, say the corporation asked me, okay, you're in charge of marketing, it's your baby, do something. I would use psychology. Let me give you an example. I'm at a Best Buy or whatever, ABC store, trying to promote ABC Linux desktop. I would use psychology. I would have a Windows 10 machine and an Ubuntu Mate machine. We'll just use that. Mr. and Mrs. Customer, you don't care for gaming, just for you and your wife, emails, sync your Android phone, and that's it. Yes. Okay. Let me give you an example. Here's my Windows 10 machine. I need to run some updates, some upgrades. I'm going to start it now. Let's schedule an appointment for you to come back when it's finished tomorrow. Here's my Linux machine. This should be done in 10 minutes. Now hang on. Here's your choice. Pick one. What do you think? How's that for bam in your face? Because that's true. This is going to reboot and reboot and reboot for hours, and this one's ready to go.
And most users, let's face it, the complaint out of everyday computer users is, oh my God, I just sat down because I wanted to post photos of the family reunion to Facebook, and kabam, before you know it, my Windows machine has to go and do a bunch of updates. It has to do this, it has to do this, it has to do this. But then what happens? You do the same.
I'm sorry, David Arnellis made a comment that I think is pretty interesting. He says there's going to be inherently problems with Universal OS Linux with so many hardware setups. That's why the data collection for Linux is so important, because hopefully it will start solving some of those issues. Because we've said that before, you could have 6 different machines in a room or 10 different machines with the same distro on it, and I'm not going to say everyone, but guaranteed 1 or 2 or 3 of them are going to have quirks with it if they have different hardware. I'm talking, variable levels or whatever. So yeah, that's the thing that's a bit of an issue, and I think that's why there has to be the top 2 or 3 or 4 distros that, because we've said before, it'd be nice if there was just one that everybody worked on it. But that's not going to happen. So now you take the top 2 or 3 or 4 flavors, and you just concentrate on those things, which there is when you think about it. What do you have? You got Debian, you got Manjaro, you could go down to Ubuntu. So, if they can start getting it to work across the hardware issues, that will solve it. Although it is still better. And Dell has proven that. Dell is running Ubuntu right now, and they're having no problems that I'm aware of.
Yeah,
they're developers running it, and developers are going to probably be a hell of a lot, pardon the French, developers are going to be a hell of a lot pickier with the OS they're using than a guy like me. Hands down. They just will be.
Right.
They want it to work +1. Me, I just want it to work.
Somebody mentioned that Linux is splintered. There's no unification or something like that. Too many cooks spoil the broth. It's that simple, and too many things get forked up. Fork this, fork that. I don't want it forked. I want it to work. You know. Somebody mentioned System 76. From what I understand, System 76 machines are superb, excellent service. That's what you're paying for, and there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong for that market. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I don't have a System 76. If they would like to send me one to test, I'll be happy to. But but again, they're high priced. They just are. You're not going to see a System 76 for $350 or $400 at a Best Buy or a Walmart. You're just not.
There's another one that does Linux machines too, and they are through the roof on their prices. But you know why? If you've ever looked at what they do and how they create a machine and the process and what you get, you literally get a book with it, and everybody that's touched it. And the thing is doesn't matter how long you have the machine, it pardon the phrase, craps out on you, you get another machine.
Yep.
So that's what you're paying for. You're paying for future kind of thing. They run Linux. They have Linux machines.
Yes.
To that degree, there was an article that I read that, or I was reading somewhere. I can't remember if it was an article or if it was on a forum somewhere. Somebody was complaining about the price of Linux specific hardware manufacturers. And somebody brought up a very good point. The last 3 Windows machines that he had bought, or he or she had bought, they paid $400 to $500 a piece for. Over the lifespan of like 7 years, 8 years, they bought a System 76 machine, and they've been running that machine for, I think it was 6 years on one machine, and gone through the updates on Ubuntu, going from LTS to LTS to LTS, and they see no need to replace that machine in the foreseeable future. So if you look at it over a 6-year period, they've gone through, say, 2.5 machines at the price of $500 a piece. You've got your $1,200 right there, guys. You buy a machine from System 76, and that machine has a lifespan of three Dells, let's just say, or 3 HPs. To me, that's kind of cost advantageous. Of course, you have the problems where a laptop gets dropped, or you throw it in a bag and you get an airplane, whatever the case is.
Right.
But you run that risk no matter what machine you're using. So really, when you look at it from an economical point of view, the Linux machines are going to have a longer lifespan from a hardware perspective than a Windows machine is.
And the beauty of System 76 is, yes, they created their own basically flavor of the distro. And that's unique because they're basically a custom machine, manufacturer provider.
Yep.
Somebody like Dell, they're just going to want to have a bunch of employees slap in a bunch of servers with a bunch of distros loaded on and mass load these things. And the beauty of it is their production time will probably be faster because they load quicker. But although if you're imaging software, in fairness, if they're imaging Windows, it's still pretty quick too. But
yeah, I'd say installing Pop OS and installing Windows on an OEM is going to be about the same, right?
Yeah, because when it's different when you're imaging, when you're just dropping a full-blown image that's ready to go versus doing a regular install, as most consumers know it. There's definite difference.
We are closing in on midnight. We still have 40 people watching. Thank you. I'll if you guys want to stick around, I'll stick around a little bit longer. I didn't know how many people. Obviously, we've hit a nerve or a chord with this, and that's wonderful. This is part of the Linux community. So I'll stick around if you want to. I don't have anything in the morning. I got an doctor appointment in the afternoon. So I'll stick around just to let the viewers know. Okay, it's midnight our time, or my time. So I'll stick around a little bit longer. Thank you for sticking around. Again, for those of you joining late, we've been talking about Ubuntu and other stuff. If you wish to contribute to Switch to Linux, I just check the chat, scroll up. I just posted a link for Tom's almost invisible Patreon page. We talked about that before. I have Patreon and PayPal. For me, PayPal is simpler. I posted the PayPal link if you would like to contribute that way, just to get that out of the way. But thank you, 41 viewers. Thank you. This is why I've stuck around after 8 years. It's all because of you guys, and I still learn stuff. Even today, even tonight, Tom was talking about why some entities need to be completely private. Now I know why. I didn't really know before, So I'm constantly learning something. Stephen, you'll stay around. Okay, great. Again, check out Switch to Linux on YouTube, and he'll have other links below. His page, his
I love healthy discussions like this. It's really, and it's nobody's taking anything, offensively or whatever, because it's opinions. But the thing is that, I've been on enough conversations where I start out with one opinion, and by the time you're done with it, you're thinking differently, and that's where it really comes about.
Right.
So.
We should probably move on to the last topic. I know Tom wanted to mention YouTube changes about revenue and stuff. That's a great topic. Unless anyone in the chat wants more information about what we talked about, we covered a lot. Again, if you are new to this, Life in Linux was designed primarily for newbies, not all the time. So if you are new to this, I would stick with the, for lack of a better term, simpler Linux, what are called distributions: Ubuntu Mate, Linux Lite, Peppermint OS. One of them may work out for you, maybe none of them will, I don't know. Linux can be unpredictable. but it's free. You can try it, and if you really like, you can donate to the developer through Patreon. I've donated to Ubuntu Mate. For me, it works. You know, I've been doing this 12 years testing Linux. So if you are a Windows user, I get it. You want it to work out of the box. And the truth is, sometimes it may, sometimes it may not. I've stuck with Debian based. That seems to be best for me. LTS releases in general, long-term support for me. And it's possible. You know, Linux has almost replaced my Windows machine. Almost. It's so close, but I'm not there yet. I'm being completely honest, you know. But if you don't do what I do, multimedia, or a lot of gaming, Linux can absolutely, is capable of replacing your Windows if you so choose to. And trust me, if you try Linux and you don't have to wait hours and constant reboots to update the system, oh my God, you know. Windows works. If you want to stay with Windows 10, that's fine, not a problem. But man, you try Linux and go through the update process, then you'll see what I was talking about. So, Mark Yates, I see you joined in. Excellent. Heather, let's see. I don't think we missed any questions in the chat. If you have a question, post it now, please. Okay? All right, we'll stick around a little long. All right, so the YouTube changes. Yeah, I saw, Tom, with the YouTube changes that some channels have a sponsor button. I guess it's that's in beta. Yes? No?
Well, they've released it out to everybody as a VidCon, but you have to have 100,000 subscribers to take advantage of it.
Okay. All right.
And it costs, like, I think it starts at $5 a month, and basically it's like Patreon. It's you know, and these other things. So they're kind of modeling off of Twitch and Patreon and things. They're trying to gather their own user base, but where some people are having some concern is, are they going to use this as a means to try and drown out? Because there's some argument that says if you link to Patreon, if you link to your Amazon account, if you link to your personal website, your video could get down regulated in the algorithm. And I'm actually going to be experimenting with that a little bit in the next couple of weeks and see what that does to move links around and stuff.
Yeah, right.
But the challenge is they want to produce one simple unified platform, and I think the problem is a lot of people are just too leery of Google right now because they seem all over the map in some ways, particularly regards to YouTube and monetization and things like that. And I think that's what drove more people to Patreon and other places like that. That's my thought.
I have seen the sponsor link. You're right, on channels with hundreds, and you know that's a bit high. Maybe make it 10,000 subscribers. I think is more fair. Just speculation on my part. I don't know. A week ago or a week before, there was a news article. There was a YouTuber who was making money. Still can't believe what we're trying to do. Pretending to walk into a university with a gun or a bomb.
I remember that.
And he was being paid. Like he made like $1,000 a month. Now, I don't know what's worse, him doing it or the people paying to do that. So this is what YouTube is trying to clean up. That's why I cut in some slack, even though it's affected us. We don't like it, but I got to look at the other side too. That's sick.
You know, from my perspective, it's kind of like what you said, Toss. You know, they're trying to clean things up, and yeah, you personally and switch to Linux personally, you guys have taken a hit. I kind of look at it from a perspective as if I was doing what you guys were doing. I kind of look at it from the perspective as my employer comes to me and says, "Okay, we have to lay you off because business isn't doing so good," or, you know what, we are going to cut your pay by, say, $300 a month. Yeah, that might hurt, but we're going to cut your pay by $300 a month. But guess what? You get to hang around. That's kind of the way I see it.
You're missing a fundamental point. The fundamental point is that I'm okay if you say we're going to cut your pay, you get to hang around. I'm not making an argument about that at all. What I'm arguing is they're cutting down on people utilizing other resources to say, I'm going to bridge the gaps. So now take your exact argument. My boss just said, you're cutting your pay, but you get to stick around. But you're not allowed to look for other work. You're not allowed to look for other ways to.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Yep. You're exactly right, Tom.
And that's the problem. I have no problem with that. If I crossed 100,000 subscribers, I would probably turn it on because there are people that are just, I want to be in the Google ecosystem, and that's the only place I want to be, and I will support that.
But that's catering to the top 1%.
Correct. But I don't want to put all my eggs in Google's basket because Google has demonstrated that they throw their basket around a lot. And that's the problem.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
You know, look, we're not happy. You know, I went from making thousands of dollars to like hundreds. That's a hit.
And they're going to do what they're going to do.
Yeah,
and
so
I'm okay with that because I have not put all my eggs in Google's basket. But if they're going to try and cut back on people utilizing other means of,
I don't like
that's
wrong.
Problem.
Right. I haven't. That hasn't hit me. Them saying you can't do that.
Correct. And it's only
I hope they don't. Yeah.
Speculation at this point in time.
Okay, yeah. So Google, if you're listening, don't do that. You know.
But there's enough speculation that seems to be possibly the case. The other major problem with it is that they want 30% of what somebody gives. That is way too much for me doing all the work. I get they get a larger portion of the ads. I'm okay with that. I get 55, they get 45% or whatever. I'm okay with that. They did all the work.
Okay, here's the thing. I started this in 2010 just as a hobby. Again, I was curious. It took a few years, but I started making some money that covered this and a few dollars in my pocket. So you know what? Even though they were taking 30%, because I was... How do you define success? Success means I love what I do and make money at it. That's being successful, I suppose. But because I was doing that for a short period, I didn't have a problem with it. It's only when everything kind of went bonkers and it crashed that now I have a problem with it. You know, there's two sides to every story, good and bad. So putting myself in their shoes, trying to clean things up, I get it. Especially that story about the guy or the kid, the guy making money off fake, you know, bomb threat. I mean, Jesus, you know, YouTube is finally enforcing their own guidelines. They weren't doing that before, because I was seeing stuff on YouTube that you've seen it, whether it's the left versus the right or religion. I'm like, wow, that guy made how much spewing toxic garbage, and YouTube's saying no, enough of that. The problem is that if they went bonkers, they went extreme and knocked out just about everybody, you know.
And yeah, a lot of the problem is the fact that they weren't enforcing their community guidelines to begin with, because it was on paper to say they could, and that always poses problems. And I learned that as a teacher very early. If you go into your first day of class and you hand out a syllabus and you say, I do not accept late homework, you are going to get about 5% of your students that are going to come to you in the first week. Oh, I was late with my homework. If you accept homework in that first week, you are going to have a constant issue with late homework. But if the very first week you say, I will not take late homework, you get a 0 on this homework, that will spread through your class and nobody will ever be late with their homework again. And then what happens is halfway through the year, 3/4 way through the year, a great student who's always dedicated comes up like, I had 16 other things. I was a little late on this. Would you accept anyway? That's the time you can make a small exception.
Okay. All right.
And that's the problem that they made, is that they had community guidelines that were not being enforced. Because how many videos do you see where it's just out dropping an F-bomb every other word? It's against the community guidelines.
Yeah, that's where they messed up, is they had those guidelines from the beginning and
never
forced them for everybody. Everybody's treated equal.
Yep.
These are the guidelines. You know, YouTube doesn't have an adult section per se, you know. But you know what? They were successful. They were making money, so they kind of like, we have the guidelines, but we'll just turn this way for now. That's how I see it, you know.
When this all happened, did Google or YouTube come through? Google come through and say, "Hey, I mean, everybody who has a YouTube account has an email address." Did they send anything out in a mass announcement saying, "Hey, we've taken a look at our community guidelines. we see where there's been deficiencies in us enforcing those, this is to put you on notice. We are going to start enforcing those, and we're going to be rolling out.
They
that
were a little
aspect.
late to the party as far as sending out notices, but they have in terms of new guidelines, or if you were in trouble. They did in the beginning as much, Tim.
Okay.
They played catch up.
Yeah,
they were threatened, essentially, from what I read, to lose $1 billion in advertiser revenue. That would destroy YouTube. It just would if that was going to happen. That's why big YouTubers, Philip DeFranco is on Patreon, but some of his stuff was out there. I wouldn't say it's vicious, but it's not, not my cup of tea per se. I mean, but I've heard much, much worse, especially during the last election. It was just spewing garbage, But YouTube is finally starting to enforce their guidelines, and it appears to be working. I don't know if it'll be the way it was. Look, we're here because there's a thirst for this. There's a need for this. There's some kind of human need to interact, even if it's not live per se, a handshake or whatever. There's a need for this. People want this on demand. There's a market for this, and that's why YouTube is still thriving. But they do need a competitor, and I don't know who will that be. Maybe Amazon. I don't know. But I use YouTube not to create, but to gather content, gather information, how to do this, how to fix something. Instant satisfaction. It's almost like a drug.
So Maverick says, Kirsten, would the algorithms change if you produced your videos on their Chromebooks instead of Linux? Well, I don't think you could really produce the videos on the Chromebooks, but if you promoted the Chromebooks more than Linux, probably.
Well, the machine would have to be beefed up a notch. It's possible, sure. You can take any machine and beef it up. Yeah.
Well, the problem is what applications do they have that can do?
Well, that, yeah.
That's the
that
problem.
goes back to sponsorships. Then you're in theory sponsoring something that they produce. And when you look at a guy like Jay's 2 Cents now as an example, what he did to kind of compensate the differences is he's got sponsors, and of course he's now at a professional level with the studio and all that. And same thing with Linus Tech Step. But what they did is create their own commercial within their video before they start, like with his own, his T-shirts and whatever else he sells, and then also some of the product. He said this, video is, sponsored by. So, and that, and then the other platforms, and like you guys are doing Patreon and whatever else you can put on. So, but. It just comes back. That's what it comes back to. It's who's gonna get the bigger cut of the pie, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's forcing you to be creative on how you get that cut too.
The last thing I wanted to do was to figure out a way to repair the revenue stream. I would rather spend more time testing more distros or doing something more creative versus finding ways to fix what's been broken with the revenue. That's the last extra work I wanted to do because it's just not me. But I've been forced to. If I don't fix it, then this channel's history. It's that simple. Or I'll be doing less and less. And it's not fun. That's not enjoyable. It just isn't. AdSense before for me was working. It was growing. It was it was fine. I was happy with it. But it's like Tom was saying, you can't put all your eggs in one basket because you have no control.
It's also tough for a guy like you to try to fix. You were saying Toss, that you were trying to fix your, what was going on. It's for you. It's kind of hard to fix when you're not the one that created the problem, and it seems like the problem in and of itself tends to be a moving target. Most of the time, at best.
It's one thing if I did it well, tough, SHIT, you deal with it. But I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
And somebody else did, and when you're trying to correct it, and that target is arbitrary or on the move constantly, how can you really...
platforms like that are getting better all the time, too, aren't they? I mean, if they really gain some more ground, and they come up with a way of, really doing a better job with people to monetize or whatever, I bet you YouTube will get that in it.
Yeah.
It's competition. It's that's why you had granted, can't use them as a great example because they're folding up, but years ago it was Target on one corner, Walmart on the other, Kmart on the other. Well, they were there for a reason, because they wanted to be where the competition was.
Right.
And so people had a choice to go pick and choose or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And unfortunately, sometimes it creates the race to the bottom. But
yeah.
Well, here's the thing too, because we are human beings and we're not perfect, and we all have our, I believe in this, not that. There are YouTubers that have gone to Patreon, still spewing their non-user-friendly words.
Yeah.
And even being more successful on Patreon or something like that, and that's disheartening. But that's not me. I can't think about that. But there's always going to be a market for inhumanity. I'll put it to you that way.
Well, let's face it. It's always the doom and gloom and the bad stuff and the garbage that tends to sell. You want to do a family-friendly channel, you're going to limit your audience, unfortunately. But the other side of the coin is if that's not what you're about, and that's not you, and then what are you doing it for? Just for the money? Eventually, that time it wears out. That's why a lot of these people come and go.
My thing is I can understand not being a content creator, doing the stuff that Toss and Tom are doing. I can understand some of the stuff like these fools that did this thing a couple of weeks ago with the bomb threat and stuff like that. I can understand YouTube coming down on that, because to me, I think that is just a plain old common sense ethical decision. I get that. But when it comes down to it, the things that Tom talks about, Tom might get wound up and scare the crap out of me at 2:00 in the morning while I'm watching a video replay. But at the end of the day, really, honestly, what is Switch to Linux throwing out there for people to watch, or what is Carmine throwing out there for people to watch that can be offensive, that can be, everybody's got an opinion, and that's what things like this are about. People are able to exercise their opinion. But at the end of the day, it's not a phony bomb threat. It's not somebody playing a practical joke on somebody. It's not like a remake of a Jackass movie on YouTube.
Yeah.
Why are you guys getting demonetized? I have such a problem with that inside of my logical brain that it's amazing to me. You guys get on here, you talk about computers, you talk about technology, you talk about your opinions regarding those things. And I can see if you got on and bashed YouTube or bashed Google or bashed an entity, I get it.
Okay.
But come on, what are you doing?
This was hilarious.
Yeah.
But highly controversial video I did last Friday about the situation at the border, that was never demonetized. But the one I did the following day, it was the last half of that.
Wow.
Was either setting up Debian or whatever. Oh, how to pick a Linux distro or how to stick with a Linux distro. That was demonetized.
And does that not then, just to reinforce what I said?
It does.
Isn't that a moving target?
Yeah, it's like I was fully expecting that thing to get demonetized, but not how to choose a Linux distro.
I think, and I could be wrong, but I'm trying to think psychologically, how people think. But maybe perhaps a lot of people, a certain percentage, were expecting to get what I think is quality content, whether it's mine or Switcher. They expected to get it for free because it's their right or they deserve it. And that's fine. That's part of it. The second thing that maybe I did wrong in the beginning, because AdSense was fine, I never did ask, if you like this, please contribute to, like a Patreon. I didn't ask. So if I don't ask, how can somebody give? Maybe that's part of it too. Another part of it is, maybe people in general just didn't know what exactly is going on. But stuff like this, it is a lot of work. These live events have been the most personally satisfying thing I have done, to meet new friends where I don't have the resources to fly to meet every one of you guys. Let's have a beer or coffee. This is the second best thing. This is the most satisfying thing I've done in over 8 years. Now I know people, may enjoy tutorial and a review, and that's fine. Now these are the least profitable thing I do, but I keep coming back to this because I just like doing it. That's why I hated trying to figure out how to fix the revenue stream, because that takes time out of doing something else.
Well, I mentioned before too. I was part of another community, because I have a resale business, and there were so many egos there and drama and things like that, and that's why this is so much more pleasurable, because that gets so sickeningly old fast, and then I've seen people change that have been on YouTube. There's a guy that I followed for tech. I've mentioned it before. I didn't mention his name. I'm not going to. But he's a computer builder or whatever. And I watched him over the years. And when I got back into doing computers again, I kind of used him as a refresher to look at stuff. But as I've seen him change, he's doing these videos that are just off the wall. Like one, I told you he did one recently where his daughter was on there. He goes, drunk tech questions, and he did like a marathon of hours where he got himself him and her both got so intoxicated. It's like, what good does that help your channel?
People like, some audiences like a shock value or something. So, but look, it's one thing if I do news and nonsense and jokes and talk about Vegemite and farting. That's silly, but it's self-deprecating. It's for fun. It's not threatening. It's not insulting. But you're right. That other stuff, it's like.
Well, even his attitude about people asking simplistic entry-level newbie questions.
Yeah.
He's gotten to the point where I don't have time for that. You can go watch my other videos. If you don't like it, then go somewhere else. His attitude. That's how big his head got. And he's not that big of a content provider. He's gotten a decent following, but he's not that big yet. And he doesn't realize by what he's doing, he could drive it in the other direction. So my point is, I've seen a number of content providers that because they're on YouTube, their heads get swelled, and then it becomes less enjoyable. That's why I think if you stay consistent with what you do, even if, like you said, one here you're talking about Linux, you're talking about tech, all of a sudden, like the one night we got into, which was kind of odd, the bullying subjects or whatever, but it's real life stuff. But if you're not doing it all the time and you're switching the subjects up or whatever, I think that's what makes it interesting, and it's real life stuff.
I know people can probably see through the phoniness, as it were. That's why even the channels that I deem offensive, at least they're being honest with what they believe in. That's not phony for what they do, and I get it. I can't do that. It's not. I believe in trying to do things as much as possible that are for the common good for all of us. And we're not perfect. We're humans and we make mistakes. But that's how I was raised. That's the Catholic school I went to New York, with nuns who would beat you with the stick if you stepped out of line,
English said if you want to get rich on YouTube, target 8 to 16-year-olds. Simple.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But you know what? But what both you guys are saying, when you think about what what Tim said, the reality of it is the purity of it. Okay, you may potentially make less money than the guy who's doing all the controversial stuff, but the difference is yours is to the heart and it's real and it's true to form, versus this made up nonsense, or being somebody that maybe, who knows, maybe they're like that in real life, I don't know. Or maybe they're just putting on a show for their channel. But, I think, to me, I'd rather be able to sleep better at night knowing that I'm doing things honestly and not being artificial.
Yeah.
DT just said, gee, you guys are still around? DT, you're missing out, man. No, I'm just kidding. But English Bob, hello, EB. From the UK, what's up, man? EB, I would ask you to, join us, but your link, your reply goes to my cell phone. It's like it did, Friday night. So, but it's changing times at YouTube. And the late great Bruce Lee, he was my childhood hero. He said it best: adapt or die.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why I'm working on my own platform, so I don't have to rely on Patreon or YouTube, and I'm about ready to get it launched. I don't like the way part of the site looks right now, so I'm rebuilding it. But just
EB, you want me to send you a link? Okay, it's late, but just for you. See how much we love each other here. I'm going to try it again, EB. I mean, did you send me an email Friday and I sent it back to you? Let me see. Give me 1 second here. All right. EB, I'm going to send you the link.
Where Tom's at now. His popularity is growing because of the cat. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, hey, that's that's a good thing. I love animals. Yeah.
And I'm working on some more T-shirt designs. You should see these things I snapped today. I mean, see if I can display these well or not. I mean, see if you can see.
Well,
those.
You know, I have the T-shirt thing through Teespring, but it's like, gee, I got to do this, do that. Ugh, enough.
Oh, you know, we didn't mention that too. YouTube also, the other thing they rolled out is they rolled out the ability to sell Teespring shirts on their site, which of course they're going to get a chunk of too.
Yeah, I got an email from I can link it. Yeah, well, I guess that's all right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a little concerned even with that because it's like that's the only company they're working with, and I intentionally did not go with Teespring for my own very good personal reasons, and I probably wouldn't want to work with Teespring. So I would like to see more options than just one, because
yeah.
Oh,
so I don't want to use the company
EB, welcome.
Choosing,
Thank goodness the brains of the outfit is here.
Yeah, I
know. How you doing, Steve?
Morning, all. We all right?
Good. It is morning here. Yeah. How are you, sir?
How are you doing, Steve? You sound a little down.
Incredibly frustrated.
Uh-oh.
So I was driving back from Heathrow Airport the other day. Toss is doing a live stream, and I've got an iPhone. And I thought, do you know what? It'd be really cool to be driving along and join your live stream.
Yes.
Do you know how difficult and impossible it is to try and join a Google Hangout on an iPhone whilst driving?
Yeah.
That's what the problem was.
They went straight to my phone, and that would have been awkward. Yeah.
But I don't know your phone number, so all I did was click on join Hangout,
but it went to my,
and it's ringing your phone, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
and I'm like, and I can't type because I'm driving. So,
no, you got to drive. No, I understand. It's quite all right. Apple, go bleep yourself. No, just kidding, Apple. But welcome.
That's
Steve.
what I feel like with Apple.
Oh, it's so frustrating. Where's
Forget
Android?
about it.
DistroTube, I already have a kitty T-shirt. It says "Sub to the cat. The human is crazy." Yeah. It has the cat on it. Yep, you can get that at shop.switchlinks.com.
I should order one of my own T-shirts, but I got so many freaking T-shirts I collected from vendors over the years. I want to maybe get the one that says "Windows broken, fixed with Linux."
Here's what you do: get it, so you can display it, show
maybe
it.
Just one. Maybe just one.
And then give it away. Do a raffle and give it away.
Honestly, I would probably give it away to the Goodwill here locally.
No, give it away. Give it away to a subscriber. Just do.
No, I could, but we have a local Goodwill that does good work, so I would probably do that. But yeah, that's fine too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think join the Hangout on my Android.
Yeah. Oh, no problem. Android, piece of cake.
Yes.
iOS, forget it.
Yeah. How's Peppermint 9?
Oh, fantastic, dude!
Is it real? Okay.
Mind-blowingly good.
Yeah,
I've got both systems running here because I'm doing the Big Daddy Challenge as well. So I've got Pet 9 on my main machine and KDE Neon on my other machine. And it's going really, really well. Terrific.
EB, I have to ask you a pressing, important question.
Far away, Toss.
Have you tried Vegemite?
Here we go again. The food.
Just curious.
Listen, Toss, really. It's like saying, Toss, have you driven a Nissan Micra? If it's not got a caddy trunk on the back, you ain't even interested. You know what I'm saying? Really? You're asking an Englishman if he's tried.
So you have. We talked about it, Fred. We went off course. I don't know how. I think it was Tim's fault, supposed to say about food.
Hey, I wasn't there, so it wasn't me.
I had a laugh last night. We were talking a Biddle about that stuff, about the Marmite and whatever, and then Colin comes out with the big jar, and I said, God, it looks like axle grease. Well, then after we went off air for a couple of minutes, we were talking. Alan Pope goes, yeah, we take it, and he says, you scoop it with your fingers, and you're going like this. I says, yeah, but it also looks like Preparation H too.
Oh my God!
You know, I watched one of English Bob. I watched one of your trucking videos the other day.
Yes,
and I actually had a question for you. You were using a word in reference, I don't know, to yourself or somebody else driving on the road. I can't read. Chump or chum something or other. What was that, Joe?
Cabalonzo. He says that a lot.
Yes.
Cabalonzo, yeah.
Okay, so that is British slang, from what I understand. What is there something you can translate that to?
Okay. All right. So Chubby Alonso is a very nice way of saying a very vile, nasty word.
It is.
Okay. Now, I can't say that word on this show.
Understood.
Understood.
But if you want the true rhyming slang equivalent of Chabalonzo, it would be, if you were a Cockney living in London, you would use something like cupboard front or shirt front or James Blunt. So to take that vile word and make it funny, we call it Chabalonzo. So Chabalonzo, and it's fun, it's easy.
Yeah.
Okay. So I should be able to go to Google and type in British slang.
Yeah, if you want the true Cockney rhyming slang version of it, it's actually an old Formula One driver, and his name was James Hunt, and that's what the Cockneys are. You James Hunt, love, you know what I mean?
Okay.
But of course that's what it's just my way of having a bit of fun. And I kind of caught your conversation earlier. It's really funny because if I do a video that says, do you know what? Total OS today is a Chabalonzo. 5 views. If I do a video that said, you know what, Total OS today, he's a right James Hunt, 100,000 views. There's no reason. It's like people want the dirt videos more than they want their family friendly.
Because there's something to talk about. Yeah,
absolutely. And if you want to get rich on YouTube, all you've got to do is copy PewDiePie. All PewDiePie does is target 8 to 16-year-olds, 62 million subs. Because they all hashtag it. It goes around Twitter.
Well, he actually did something a little unusual, though, which caused us such great growth, and that was that he was able to get himself cross-linked in 2 different markets, which is how he was able to grow so big. So he was able to get himself cross-linked in the United States market, but he also got himself cross-linked in the Swedish market. And he was like the only person able to figure out how to do that.
Just a bit off topic, DT ordered his tube of Vegemite today. Want to practice before eating it on air. Tube, when I think of a tube, I'm thinking of like something to soothe you. Yeah.
Can I just educate you people, right?
Please.
You know, if you're in New York and you go into a shop and you buy yourself a large jar of Laura's Scudder's peanut butter, you can dip your hand right in that jar and scoop it in your mouth, and it's divine.
Okay.
You cannot do that with Marmite because it's like liquid tar off a road.
Okay, got it. Okay. Well. DT, let me know how it works out when you eat it, and come on my stream. I'll have my gas mask ready just in case. But yeah.
Vegemite sounds like one of those vegetable concentrates. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Yeah. It's pure. It's fantastic stuff. It's great for your blood because it's like brewer's yeast. It really clears your blood out.
So what's it really taste like, really, EB?
It's divine if you like it. It tastes of beef, basically.
Really?
It looks like beef. Yeah. It's not vile, but it's
different.
It's one of them things. It's like you guys, I guess, having a special brand of beef jerky or something.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? You know, you're chewing that stuff in
right.
it. You know, But you know, if it's your thing, fantastic.
Is it best to eat it like with the toast, with toasted bread, or
you just want a nice simple layer on some plain buttered toast? Beautiful.
With a beer or with water?
Cup of coffee. A nice
really?
black coffee. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Gorgeous.
Oh.
But the whole idea of it is that on a really cold, freezing winter's day, if you've not got a lot of money, if you've got a jar of Marmite and a jar of Bovril for your drinks, you're done. You know, you're fed. You're done.
Okay. Okay.
I'll be. Wait, let's use. I'm chuffed. I can't find the definition for that, Steve.
For what?
Chabalonzo.
Chabalonzo. No, as I say, it's you won't find a definition for it. It's a made-up definition for it. If you want to find the definition for Chabalonzo, then you've got to look at the definition for James Hunt. So if you do a Google for James Hunt, it will explain it all, what the Cockney rhyming slang is. It's just I can't say the word because it's a vile word. Obviously.
EB, can you see the chat? Are you?
No, this is weird. The chat doesn't work on my Hangout. Yes, I can now. EB
Nice.
has calmed my fears. How's it go? DT, have you installed the old KDE Neon yet? Mine's up and running and going really well, bud. Joe, have you done KDE Neon yet? Did you take the challenge up from PP?
I played with it a while back, but I just said it now. I actually did download it last night, but I have to put it on ISO, and I'm going to stick it on my test laptop, hopefully tomorrow. So
I've tried KDE Neon. It's okay. I mean, it's just the KDE desktop is not for me, but it's all right. Yeah.
The only comment I would make out off the box after one day is KDE Neon is gorgeous, but why wouldn't you go Ubuntu 1804?
Yeah.
Because KDE Neon's on a 1604 base, it's beautiful, but
yes,
I don't get it. You know, surely you wouldn't go. And the other weird thing is why is there only 2 reviews on DistroTube of KDE Neon, and the last one was like 2016? That's really weird.
I don't know.
So I don't know.
My Peppermint 9 installation broke, or this bogged down on me. This didn't work real good, Bob. So, but I've had problems.
Really?
Yeah, I've had some problems on my specific hardware on this specific machine.
Yeah.
1804 base stuff just is kind of wonky. It just doesn't run right or run good.
There's something goofy with 1804 that I can't put my finger on yet. This is actually interesting. My custom host script does not allow you to have any network connections on 1804. That's what I've been doing most of the stream, is figuring out it's not. Somebody had said somewhere, I didn't read the thread yet, but somebody had said somewhere that using 127.0.0.1 doesn't work, but 0.0.0.0 does. But that wouldn't make sense, and 0.0.0.0 is not a safe thing to use for a host script block.
Yeah.
So
there is something, you're right, Tom. There is something really weird.
So I have a suspicion what it is, and I'm not going to say yet. But I am getting very close to that part in my host file. Right now, I am about 95% done, and it works fine. So there's something in the last 5% that is preventing Ubuntu 1804, anything based on it, from working. I'm running it on Linux Mint 19 right now.
Well, it's interesting, Tom, because every time I go to install any Ubuntu 1804 based system on my secondary PC, it keeps coming up halfway through, the installer crashes and it says, sorry, can't install, your PC is too hot or your hard drive is wrecked. So I thought, okay, well, all distros can't be wrong, so it must be my PC. So I bought a brand new 500 gigabyte hard drive, put it in.
Same thing.
Wow. Okay.
Exactly the same. Made no difference.
Now, is it any distro just based on 1804?
Yep. Including Ubuntu. Any Ubuntu 1804. Even Peppermint does it. If I try and install... Now, KDE Neon, 1604, bang, straight on.
Perfectly fine. How about Linux Lite 18? Or Linux Lite, what is it, 4?
Exactly the same. Exactly the same.
You know what I'd like you to do for me, Steve? If you're up to it? And only because I'm having such good success with this. I've had my quirks on this machine with the XFCE and Peppermint included in that. I'm running Ubuntu Studio 1804, and it's been running like a dream. I would love to see you try it just to see if that does.
Okay, dude. Yeah, that's a great shout. I'll do that.
Yes, but it is still based off the 1804.
Yeah. No worries. Yeah, we'll do. And he's see, and what is really weird, if I put Arco Linux on that PC, straight on, no problem. If I put Calculate Linux, straight on. Debian, straight on. Any 1804, halfway through the installer crashes. Sorry.
Wow. Something's going on. Yeah.
I can actually get it installed and it runs okay for like 2 or 3 updates, and it's not as though, it's doing its initial update as soon as I do the install. It's pulling all the most current stuff down, but it seems like it's after a couple of updates that I start to have problems with being able to do Hangouts in certain web browsers. The startup, generally speaking, I'm running a 8 gigabyte 256 SSD HP Pavilion right now, laptop. The startup on any 1604 distro is generally about 20-25 seconds. On 1804 stuff, the startup creeps from like that 20-25 second, and you start to get up to like 45-50 seconds, and then over a minute after a few updates, and it's not as though I can't figure it out.
Well, here's the little lemon twist. I think Mark Yates in the chat has just nailed it, right? Now, here's the twist. This PC has an NVIDIA GTX 750 Ti 2 gigabyte graphics card. If I take that graphics card out and just use the onboard Intel graphics drivers that's in it, Ubuntu 1804 goes straight on with no issues. So is it an NVIDIA issue?
It isn't with me, because the laptop that I'm on right now has integrated Kaby Lake on it.
Really? So it's not even that. So it's weird. It's weird that it's every 1804 base that you try and throw on. And yet on my main PC, no problem, 1804 goes straight on.
DT made me laugh. He says he doesn't have problems because he runs unstable distros. I'm like, what? What?
Yeah, so instead of things working part of the time, they work none of the time.
Never, yeah. So he's, I guess that would be stable, unstable, or I don't know. Nothing works, so it's perfect, right? I noticed we have somebody named Caustic something in the house here. If it's your first time, welcome, by the way. We still have 40 people viewing it at this time of night. This is awesome.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Master 88. Is he a new one too?
He fairly new. Yeah. He says Peppermint 9 is awesome. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I've installed 1804 on this, my other desktop, and my Toshiba. No problem. Yeah, I haven't done it yet on my ThinkPads. I'm going to wait. As far as Linux, but I have Linux with Cinnamon. But yeah.
I'd like to ask, is anybody in the comments or any of you guys running the custom host script that I have on my website? And if you are you using a Ubuntu 1804 base?
Not me.
Okay.
I am not.
Somebody in the comments says.
Okay.
I use someone who cares host script file, and it runs beautiful on Pep 9.
EB, did you look at the report for Ubuntu Telemetry, their first report? Have you taken a look at it?
Not really, no.
Okay, all right.
To be honest, I think that's a much ado about nothing, to be quite frank.
Okay.
Want to see what the likes of Microsoft, Google, and Apple are doing. Anything canonical pales into insignificance, quite frankly.
All right.
Yeah, I was. We talked about that earlier, Stephen. I'm hoping that it might help them gain some valuable knowledge that might help them fix some of these hardware issues that people are having, because that seems to be everybody's common complaining about NVIDIA drivers, this and that. And maybe if they can learn enough about the different systems being run and find out where these problems are existing, maybe that'll help them get to a solution somewhere, or some solutions. That's my hope.
For sure. Oh, it's a great shout, Joe. Great shout, mate. And I think it's very natural today to tar everything with the same brush and assume everything's just wrong, and it's not. I mean, Linux Lite, you can upload your information about your hardware to a database, which I think is a fantastic, great idea. And yet the amount of people, when I did the Linux Lite 4 video, said, oh, no, it's just as bad as Microsoft. It's no, it's not telemetry. You're voluntarily choosing to give them that information or not. Completely different.
Well, and it's understanding. That's the thing, is if we, like the Ubuntu report, if you could run that in a terminal, you could see exactly what it's taking, and that's the difference. But like I said, that was something I said earlier too, is that we've all been so tainted because of the Microsoft way of doing things that you're just naturally suspicious that everybody's doing things that way. And we were, rightfully so initially too, wondering what is this about. But then when you learn more about it, and it was explained, like Michael Tennell explained it pretty well, and others, and it makes sense now. And so my hope is that it stays what it's intended for and the way it is, and not that it turns into something different down the road. Right now, but I think the flack that they would catch, and the fact that the community being so large as it is, would stop it in a hurry anyway. Where you don't have that ability with Microsoft or Apple.
Well, yeah, it's
Steve Anderson just said in the chat that he had problems with the 1804 and the video graphics card. He would sign in, it would go to the desktop, then revert to the sign in again, remove the graphics card. No problem anymore.
That's a great chat.
Did he shut it off in the BIOS though too? A lot of people make that mistake that they'll put a graphics card in and they don't turn off the onboard graphics in the BIOS, and then it'll be a conflict. Sometimes that happens. I'm not saying that's every time, but that can happen.
Yeah.
I wish I could come up with something. None of my machines have dedicated graphics cards. One that I have here does, but I don't know. With the 1804, it just seemed like it was good out of the box, and then it just kind of, nothing really broke as such. It's just like the distro kind of got confused.
Do you want me to be honest? Do you want me to be totally honest? I think what's happened here is that Canonical have had to hold back so much cool stuff for the 1804 release that's in the next release. It's causing them major problems with the stability side. Because I know,
you talking about the point release?
Yeah, I think the 1810 release is going to be a real wicked awesome distro, and it's really got a lot of the stuff that the 1804 release should have had, but in order to give the 1804 release a stable tag, it's kind of been stripped out, and it's causing them terrible problems. That's just a conspiracy theory, I think.
Well, no, that makes sense, because that goes in line with what Martin Wimpress was saying too about Ubuntu Mate. He said that he said initially in one of the interviews, I don't remember whose channel it was on, but he was talking about that. He said the 1804 release really is kind of a minimal output. He said, because the next point release is when we're going to really be adding a whole bunch more, and it'll be more of a complete. So that makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
That's just a gut feeling, Joe. That's but it's the way I see it. It's such a shame, because I think everybody's been so spoiled with the stability and the regularity of 1604.
Yes,
everybody's excited for the new one, but to be honest with you, I think it's got some serious issues. 1804 base long-term support.
Wow,
I think the 1810 will be fantastic.
That's awesome. I don't have any problems, but I don't know. It's just weird. It just I keep saying Linux can be predictably unpredictable.
Absolutely.
Sometimes in a good way, But yeah, I mean, look, the Ubuntu, switching to GNOME, it's not my favorite desktop. It just can't quite get comfortable with it. But running it in my machine, I have that laptop in my garage in the summertime when I'm washing the car or whatever and playing music on it. It's got the Altec Lansing speakers on it. It's fantastic. Or is it? No, it has Harman Kardon speakers, sorry, in that machine, satellite. It's stable. Ubuntu, for me at least, 1804 has been stable, quite surprisingly. It just works. It's not fast.
Here's the lemon twist, right? Do you go with KDE Neon, which is awesome, on a 1604 base, or do you go with Kubuntu 1804? You should really go with Kubuntu 1804, but you know that if you put KDE Neon on, you're done. No issues, rock solid, beautiful. Put Kubuntu on, if you're running NVIDIA, issues. If you try the installer with certain hardware, issues.
See, I have this vision, Steve. When I'm ready to upgrade my office and my computer, let's say I buy a Dell, whatever, and it comes up I have to upgrade my graphics drivers. I feel like doing Dracula. No, I don't want to do that. Back, no, please, no. That's how I feel. Because in the past, I haven't had good luck with graphics. Not all the time, of course. Now, with these computers, I don't have to install what I call the extra drivers. The Zorg drivers seem to be okay. Of course, I don't do heavy gaming either. But when the day comes after install the extra drivers, no, because you don't know if it's going to work. You just don't.
It's a nightmare. It really is. And I mean, a lot of people that are seeing communities in YouTube absolutely rate Debian and XFCE. Oh, XFCE, it's so boring. It never gets developed. That's the whole point. It works 24/7, 365. It doesn't constantly need to be updated. You stick it on your PC, you're done. Bang. It'll outlive your hardware.
It just works.
And loads of people miss that point, which is such a shame.
EB, you remember a rant you did, and you made me laugh, thank you, but it may have been years ago, I can't remember, but you said something like you were having issues with graphics drivers, and you ranted and it was an adult-oriented rant. That's why I love it. I'm from New York, so I get no offense to me, New York.
English,
but
Bob used spicy language.
You were saying that why can't you Linux developers get off your juicy bleepity bleep and just pick one distro and make it the... You remember what I mean? You remember that, rant? Yeah. It was brilliant because we were talking before he came on how to make. Now is a golden opportunity for Linux world to get off their arses and pick one distro to compete with Microsoft Windows 10 because of all what that's been going on.
Yeah,
golden opportunity, but there are too many forks.
Yeah, Toss, it's exactly the same for humanity as it is for Linux, right? In humanity, we could find a cure for cancer in under 1 calendar month, right? If the whole world got rid of all its weapons and they all got together in one room. But we would rather continue developing weapons of mass destruction than find a cure for cancer. Exactly the same with Linux. We would rather have 1 billion distros because we give you choice rather than focusing on the one distro that just kicks everything else off the planet. Because believe you me, Linux is awesome by design. You can't get away from that fact.
I know.
Another thing too is a footnote to Ubuntu Studio, which I have no clue why they do this. It reminds me of what Ubuntu did too, because Ubuntu, the super key at one time didn't work. The super key on here does not run the menu. It's Control Escape, so I had to reassign it to run the super, which is not a big deal, but it's still the point.
Yeah.
If you're used to using that, why put Control Escape versus just using the super key?
Yeah.
And you reassign it.
Great shout, Joe. And that is so typical across all these different distros and forks, and there's so many different. It's not just a new base. You go from Ubuntu to something like OpenSUSE, and the learning curve is incredible. You go from OpenSUSE to Gen 2 or Calculate, and it's like going to... And you think, well, hang on, my brain's a sponge. I've learned all this about Debian and Ubuntu, and now that's almost useless because I'm going to Arch or I'm going... And you just think, why can't you, all the developers who are so cool, just say, do you know what? We're going to pick distro A and we are going to make it awesome.
There's been talk. What standard would you use to pick the one distro? This is my standard. Pick the one distro, whatever it's based on, Debian, Arch. Pick whatever it is, the one distro, the one package management system that requires the least amount of work.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, and that's why I said before, if people were walking into a store and you had 2 or 3 or 4 at the most, I mean, that's still a lot. But depending on your workflow, not everybody likes GNOME.
Yeah.
A lot of people like the Mate menu better, like the Whisker menu. So, and yes, you could add menus in there or whatever, but there's still different workflows. So if you had 3 or 4 as choices, and that's it, but yet the bases were kind of all the same, so it wasn't as much work as you're saying, I'd say yeah.
Okay, so Joe, let me give you an example, right? So you got people who love GNOME, people who love i3, people who love Rising, people who love XFCE, Okay, so why don't we take something that's a combination of everything and develop it into all things for all people?
Yes.
Answer, plasma. Take plasma, you got your wobbly windows, you can lay it out any which way you want, blah, de, blah, de, blah. Then choose your base, stick it on a base and say, do you know what? We are going to hammer this. Get AMD on board, get NVIDIA, get the software, gaming publish houses on board and say, right, here's your platform. I mean, but
the thing I'll say about that, and I hope you'll agree with me, though, is plasma, as nice as it is, still doesn't run to the speed of what I think XFCE does.
No, it doesn't, Joe, and it doesn't run anywhere near to the speed of what something like i3 does. But what I'm saying is plasma is the one common denominator which you could load in elements that would make it run workflow-wise similar to i3, to XFCE, to GNOME. Are you with me? It's the one common, if you like, interface that you can mold to how users want to use it.
Yeah, but there's also been complaints about it almost has too much. So it's like, geez, can you ever win?
Absolutely, Joe. Yeah, I get it. But on the reverse side of the coin, then you've got an even bigger problem. So let's just say we all agree for once, we're going to go with plasma. Right, what do we do now? Do we do Debian? Do we do Ubuntu? Do we Arch? Do we Gentoo? Do we Slack? Do we Linux from scratch? Good luck with that, because that's a World War III battle, that is. Could you imagine that? My God!
Well, I could call Uncle Guido this. No, I'm just kidding. But
I got a question.
Wise guy OS. Yeah.
I kind of have a question or comment based on what Joe just said. Doesn't what's the name of the distro? Zorin OS. Pretty solid distro.
Zorin's still missing stuff, though. It's a nice distro. It really is.
It's a nice distro.
It's not. If you like to do a lot of customization, whatever, it's still limited.
Yeah.
Well, they switched to GNOME Desktop, and
but let's look at it from this perspective, though. We're looking at people that are using Windows as compared to people that are using Linux, and as far as I'm concerned, a GNOME Desktop is a hell of a lot more customizable.
And see, I didn't know they switched to GNOME. I haven't been on it until I looked.
It's GNOME now.
Or something, or?
But you were saying take a distro, and instead of having 3 or 4 machines with different desktops, have one machine, one distro that's got kind of the Zorin-esque type of thing behind it, where you can pick a layout. They're all kind of based off of the same desktop environment, of course. But you can pick different layouts, because I think
there are some distros out there where when you're loading them up, you could pick the flavor you want.
Yep.
This run very well. That's the problem.
This is actually with Zorin. What they do is they run a GNOME desktop, and within the GNOME desktop they have like Zorin settings or Zorin appearance.
BRB guys, won't be 2 secs.
Yep.
They have like Zorin appearance, and you can go in, and if you just get the core, where you don't get, I think you get 3 different desktop layouts. It's not 3 different environments; it's 3 different layouts. And I think if you pay the $20 or whatever it is for the premium, I think you get 6. You get 6 or 8 different layouts. That would be perfect. And those things, the last time I played with Zorin was quite a while ago, but it was, I think it was Zorin 12 point something, which I think is their current one. It's based on 1604. And you can actually switch on the fly. It's not that you have to log out and log back into a different environment.
Yeah, sure.
If you had a good solid base that had a desktop environment that allowed you to change that stuff up.
Well, Mate does that too. Mate's got different desktop environments.
Yeah, they do, don't they?
Yeah.
Yep. In fact, Mate has more than Zorin does. Because Zorin, I think, unless you pay for the premium, you only get 3 different desktop environment layouts. I think, how many does Mate have? 6, 7, 8?
7, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
But Plasma is really nice. It just that still seems to be one of those distros, though, that, and I don't know, maybe it's with all of them, but it seems like it's hit or miss depending on what hardware you're running it on. I don't know.
Zorin.
Well, I have to say, Joe,
or the Plasma.
I have to say, KDE Neon is running on this machine that I've built, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It really is. It's terrific, and I love so many of the features of KDE Neon. that, to be honest, are also in Ubuntu 18.04.
Yeah.
But I just love the way everything's just at your fingertips.
Yeah.
You can just set it up how you want it. If you want all the K1 effects, you can have your wobbly windows, the cube. It's just so cool. And the other thing that's really shocking about KDE Plasma is it's not that heavy. It's not like the old KDE where you used to use 2 gig just to put the window.
No, they've improved it. It's amazing.
It's really, really good.
What is it about? It's like 500 or 600 meg now, isn't it?
It's like half of what it was using almost.
Mine at the minute is cold, running nothing, but it has ran Google Chrome and it's on 811 meg. So it's around 500-600 meg from a cold boot, which ain't bad for the fanciest window manager you're going to get.
Right.
And I have to be honest, it's a country mile ahead of doing something like Compiz and Emerald. Country mile.
Yep. I agree. The latest Plasma since last year, really, I was amazed how much faster it is. It's nice. It is nice. It is 1 a.m., so I'm just about ready for Betty Bye here. So everybody in the chat, we still have 43 viewers. Wow, thank you.
1 a.m. You're a lightweight. No, I'm just kidding.
What can I say?
You are a lightweight.
I have dropped some weight. Thank you. I feel great. Thank you. Yeah. I feel good.
I think the only thing that Joe needs to say to Toss is in one of them Queen's New York American voices. Toss, what's the matter with you, huh? What's the matter with you? Because Joe for me is like Toss and Rocco. He's got the coolest accent on the planet. And I could imagine when Joe looks at you and says, "What's the matter with you?"
Yeah, you see what I'm saying?
You need to get out of there. You know what I'm saying?
See what I'm saying?
Well, the funny thing is everybody tells me they can always tell when I get a little excited because the Italian accent really comes out.
Hey, what's the matter with you?
It's so cool, Joe. It really is. Man. So cool.
DT says, "I wish I had tossed the stamina after streaming an hour. I'm ready to tap out." Well, maybe the Vegemite will give you more energy, to go to the bathroom. No, just kidding. But
yeah.
And speaking of people watching, we've got 42 on right now, and we only have 25 thumbs up. Come on, guys.
So, come on, guys.
Show Toss a little love here.
Now, this is the weird thing. Why does the chat on mine not work in the Google Hangouts window? And yet, if we go to YouTube page, the chat's working fine. Isn't that weird?
It's because the Google Hangouts is for a chat communication between us, and the YouTube one is for the actual live stream.
Right. Thanks, Tom. Isn't that weird? Wouldn't you just think they make it for the live stream? Really?
That's what I do. Is I'll open up the YouTube channel. I'll pop out the chat alongside the Windows.
That's what I do. I pop out it. Yeah, you're right, Carrie. This is almost 3 hours. I feel like I'm doing a toast-a-thon, but that night was 6 hours, believe it or not. Whew.
And 2 bottles of wine to boot.
Forget it. Forget it. If I had the wine, it'd be like, so Tim. That's what I would be if I had the wine. I had the 1 bottle of beer at Applebee's, and that was it. I didn't eat. So, well, I had my dinner before, but I didn't eat there at Applebee's. And
right, guys. Well, you all have a fabulous day. I've got to go off to work. Much love from this side of the pond.
Take
Toss,
care.
Keep doing what you're doing. Great streams, man.
Take care,
Thanks
sir. Thank
much.
you. We'll catch you next time.
You
take care. Yeah.
Cheers, Tim. Cheers, Joe. Cheers, Tom.
Take care.
Take care.
All right.
All hangouts and driving.
All right. So if we have any last questions, get the toasters out. It's a toast-a-thon. I don't think I can make it to 3 a.m. today. But if somebody would make a nice big super chat donation, sure, why not? No, I really can't do it. I'm starting to fade.
Harry Loves Are you trying to rival Tux Digital? 2 hours to go.
He's I know that's a drag. I mean, God bless him, but geez, he does long streams. Yes, he does.
I always remember Derek said even with NeoFetch, he said it seemed like it took a second to load up or whatever. I haven't had any issue with that. I set it in there. I put the config in my bash script. Boom! It comes up every time as soon as I hit F12 because I use Quake, and it's like it's right there. I love it. It's nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh! So what Linux release am I excited for the most? Well, Ubuntu Mate. That's what I was, because that's what I like. That's what I've been using. It's fine. I'm excited for Linux Mint. I've been testing because after Ubuntu, I went to Linux Mint, then Zorn, now back to Ubuntu, but or Ubuntu Mate. But yeah, Ubuntu Mate works. Linux Mint, the beta, seems awesome. I was impressed with Peppermint 8, not 8. I was able to live stream with less than a gig of RAM in my ThinkPad. Not recommended, but I was able to do it. Done that. There was no webcam or anything. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with my Ubuntu and Linux Mint as my backup right now. So yeah.
You know what I have to say when I'm curious about? You guys are all talking about your RAM usage and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I had, I have a lot of things that run. I'll keep Telegram open sometimes, and I'll keep. I had Zoom was still up in the taskbar or whatever. So I thought, let me close those out because it was showing 5 gigs running here, and it got down to like 4.5 or whatever instead of 5.5. But you're running 4 gigs. I've got a 16 gig machine. It almost seems like it takes the equal percentage depending on the amount of RAM you have. Because this has never run as light as this is, and as fast as this is. It never runs, at 600 megabytes.
Yeah, right now, let me see. I switched to RAM sticks. I'm running 6 gigs in this. It's using 1.8 gigs. It's not bad. Ubuntu Mate.
Yeah, this seems really weird to me.
That's what I'm saying. I've got 2 windows open over here, the browsers and whatever, and other stuff.
Yeah.
But still, if you do the math of it,
and
you're talking 6 gigs, it's similar percentages, not quite there, but similar percentages of the amount of RAM you have. It seems like it runs whatever. If you've got 32 gigs, it makes you wonder, would it be running almost 10 gigs? I don't know.
So the proportions stay the same, right, Joe?
Yeah, I'm wondering about that. It'd be interesting to find that out.
After Peppermint 9 kind of went goofy on me last night, I threw Elementary on. It's 1604 base. The only thing I'm doing right now is Vivaldi, and I have the chat popped out.
And it works.
Vivaldi is running 2.1 gigs.
Holy crap.
Wow.
What is... Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah, it does seem that way, yeah.
That is way high. Yeah,
Keegan says he used to work at a place that had high RAM usage. They had 9 or 10 Dodge Rams. Okay, but
that's why I just answered him. I had to laugh because I actually have a Dodge Ram truck. It's funny.
Yeah, I read Chrysler might be filing bankruptcy again. Surprise.
Oh, no.
They just need to get Lee Iacocca back. Turn that place around.
Yeah, really. Get the Italians out of it.
And that doesn't make any sense because I look around Janesville here where I live and stuff. I mean, it used to being a former GM town, there's still a lot of GM vehicles. But now all you see are Rams. I mean, we have a Ford dealer here. Well, the dealer that owns Ford owns that and now they just bought the Toyota dealer, whatever. They bought up most of the dealerships here.
Yeah.
But there's a ton of those trucks. There's 6 of them, counting mine, just on my block alone.
Wow.
It's like,
Yeah, well.
And it doesn't make sense. How could you be bankrupt or claiming bankruptcy?
They aren't selling enough. Who knows? Quality control. They had that bad publicity a couple of years ago. One of the Star Trek actors died. The guy who played Chekhov. He bought a new Jeep. It was a Chrysler. And there was a flaw in the shifter. It was like electronic shifter.
Yeah.
There was a design flaw. He thought he had it in park. It wasn't in park. He parked on a hill. It rolled back and crushed him. I mean, this is 2018. This happened in 2015. I mean, Jesus. A freaking shifter.
There's a lot. I will give you that. I mean, I had that complaint. I was telling my dad. My dad's got a Arcadia, and it's $48,000 vehicle.
Yeah.
And he was complaining. When I was down there in Florida, I said, it seems like there's no, the air, you can't get. He thought, well, maybe he had it adjusted wrong because it's got the back air conditioner, all this stuff. So finally, he said he brought it in a day or two ago, and sure enough, the dryer on it was leaking. It was leaking down. It shorted out a fan motor or whatever. I said, hey, you got a brand new vehicle, stuff like that shouldn't happen. But I think where Chrysler was concerned too with this stuff is. It's I don't know that it's just so much quality control is like with GM. There's so many benefits paid out, which is a good thing to employees. But even after the fact, when they retire, it takes so much money just to support the benefit packages that they have now too, that the vehicles are going up and up and up. And, you know,
I don't know. I mean, Toyota and Honda know how to make them for years. It isn't just now. I mean, it's for years.
But their prices don't change that much either. And I don't know what their cost of producing them is.
I don't know what the catch is.
I don't think of people jumping off and with nets in the building like I folks. But
I don't know what the catch is. I mean, I've had Honda, Toyota, and American, and the ones that hold their value, the most reliable, generally have been Honda and Toyota. I mean, it's not a secret. It's just the way it is for whatever reason. You know.
You're right.
You know, when I had my Toyota, I would get stuff in the mail. We top dollar for your trade. We will give you this. I switched to Buick, nothing but silence.
Yeah, crickets. Yeah.
Crickets, right. All right. Anything else in the chat? I think we've covered a lot. I know we have for this evening. Thank you all, 45 of you at one time who joined in for this. Wow, early Monday morning. Awesome.
Switch to Linux is working feverishly.
I'm hunting that script down. I have it narrowed down to the section.
And he looks sneaky in the dark too, doesn't he?
Me and
Dr. Evil.
Planning to take over the world.
Exactly what I was thinking. Dr. Evil. Yes.
Now all he has to do is the spaceship taking off for his outros at the shows, with the cat in there.
Right. Yeah. We should do the outro with the. I know Dr. Evil. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yugi says Android and iOS, which is better? I like Android because I can pop it in my Windows machine and my Linux machine. With my iPhone I had or my iPad I had, I cannot link it to Linux. So I'll stick with Android.
Yep, custom ROMs on Android.
There you go. So there's the answer, Yugi. All right, so we're going to wrap this up. If you missed any of this, of course, you can replay it. I'll probably transcode this into an MP3 file on my Patreon page. Those of you who like to take it with you, it is not a paywall. As a thank you who contribute to Patreon, you can take the audio file. You can still watch this for free. So I was trying to think of a reward on Patreon for those of you who want to contribute that way. So audio version of this, I think, is something that you might like, So again, this weekend or next, I'm not sure, I'll have a nice, hopefully, a informative discussion on social media and cyberbullying. When I was a kid, I was bullied. Of course, back then there was no computers. Like I said, the major computer back in the 70s was the pinball machine. But we'll talk about that.
Were you a pinball wizard?
I don't know. I think I was. I was pretty good. I would get addicted to it. Of course, that song by The Who. He's a pinball wizard. Yeah. Thank you, Kyrie. So look for that special stream. I'm going to have. There was a request by a teenager. I think who has experienced social pressures and cyberbullying. I think. I'm not sure. But he wanted me to cover that topic. It's a great topic for a sponsored video, if you'd like to sponsor that, but I'll do it if it's not sponsored because it's a great topic anyway. That's it. So thank you, Mark and Kyrie and everybody in the stream. I don't think we missed any questions. So again, check out Switch to Linux. And thank you, Joe. Thank you, Tim.
Right.
And awesome. Still 35 people sticking around. Thank you, but I am a little tired. I'm sorry. All right. Bye. I'm out of here, guys. I'll catch you next time. Okay?
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.